Yo, shalom, back again, double feature today. So I just had a conversation with brother Ngozi, and we chopped it up on a few topics. Mainly on haplogroups, empirical science, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to share the conversation with the channel, with our audience. Now the beginning was, he was a bit hostile because I guess people in his corner was feeding him, put the battery in his back and fed him some lies about our channel. Listen, I'm gonna make this statement clear. Anybody can come on my channel and if you got an opposing view, you don't gotta agree with us. You come on here, just be respectful, and you'll be able to get your point across. And that's it. Name another channel that does that. Most of your other channels, it is. He said, "Oh, I thought your channel was gonna be a setup." Most of these other channels is setups, man. If you go on Sonetta, it's gonna be a setup for you to be clown. If you're not from that, paradigm, those guys pushing over there. Same thing with Garfield. There's gonna be 8 dudes in the chat waiting for you. You know what I'm saying, to come on there so they can gish gallop you, railroad you into conversations and trying to pretty much make you look like a fool on their platform. Here at the source, you have free range. You can speak. I'll let you talk. You've seen it with Lionform. Lionform got himself kicked off of the platform because he would not let anyone else speak, including me. So that didn't bid well for him. But if you're respectful, you can come on here and say whatever you got to say. So I'm going to share the conversation I had with the brother. You understand? I did record the conversation, and I will play that recording back with you guys so you can see what took place and what transpired. Thing about the conversation, it did start off heated. The brother was on attack mode or defend mode, however you look at it. Brothers, put that battery in his back, his back. They gave him a Duracell, Energizer. They gave him something, man. And, brothers in his corner in his ear, trying to make it perceive something more than that. But we finally came to a conclusion that it's all about information, man. And I just told him politely, man, if you put information out there, we're going to critique it. I'm going to critique it. If I disagree with it, I'm going to be vocal about it. I just did a video about Zion Lex, destroying a pseudo, and, people are going to get mad at that on their side. But Garfield is doing videos about Tahuti, saying Tahuti destroyed Lex. So once we do something, it's a double standard. Once we do something and establish ourselves in the YouTube worlds, as my brother say, it's a problem. You know what I'm saying? We got to get away from this fascism. Like, we got a lot of social fascism going on and leftist ideology going on in the black community. You know what I'm saying? But we did have a dialogue and a conversation I'm going to share with you guys today. Shout out to Plumantis. Just shalom, bro. Once again, got to support you. Everybody must support the family. Hit that like button. That's correct, brother. Appreciate it. He said, also very happy to see you and the brother Zion Lex having a dialogue. I hope to get you guys to have a dialogue with this one brother from Ancestral Production. He said he would do it, but we'll see. Tell that brother that he can come on my channel anytime we're live, or if he can contact me, send me an email, hebrewjedi@gmail.com, and we can chop it up, and we can set up a date where we can get on here and have a dialogue, whoever that brother is. I'm not familiar with the people from Ancestral Productions. Shalom. Shalom. I believe this is Mighty Hebrew, if I'm not mistaken. Shalom, brother. All right, let's get to this conversation again. It opens up fiery, very fiery. Like I said, the brother had a different perception. Listen, if you make a statement, Garfield make a statement, I'm going to come harsh and I'm going to come with facts, and I'm going to break it down. If it's something I don't agree with, I'm going to attack it and critique it, especially from these guys that claim to be scholarly on dealing with the sciences and whatnot. You know how they go. All right. So it is what it is. If you put your information on a public platform, we dealing with academia, we claim to be academic, then just know it's going to get scrutinized just like they do in academia. Shalom, Orthodox Moor. And also, Ngozi also said that he's willing to come on the channel. I told him he can come on, give a presentation. We could do a dialogue or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he's willing to come on the channel, and maybe sometime in the future he will come on the channel. And we'll dialogue about DNA live. All right, let's get into this recording. Let's get into it.
Hello.
Yo.
Yeah, bro. Hey, like you wanna I don't even know who y'all is, and I just found out who y'all was. Consul told me that y'all had confirmation or whatever, conversation before. But if you want to build on that shit, yeah, you can come on my platform. I don't trust other people's platforms, bro. I'm not getting blocked off. I'm not doing none of that shit, bro. And I'm trying to explain something that's common sense.
Listen, I done had all those folks on my channel. They don't get blocked off.
They beat you up. I seen it. They let me see it. They beat y'all up before.
Hey, it goes. Listen. This is not. I'm not begging you for nothing. Look, if you want, if you want to discuss, hold on. If you want to discuss the information,
we gonna talk as men. We gonna talk as men.
Got you. You can come on my channel, just me and you.
Let me just say this. You keep my name in your mouth, and I don't even know you, bro, and that's fine.
Obviously, it's bothering you. Listen, you making public statements. I'm going to critique what you say. No, don't call me king after you came at me like that. Listen, if you want to have a discussion with me, come on my channel.
Let me ask you a question.
If you want to have a discussion with me, come on my channel.
Let me ask you a question. Matter of fact, let me calm it down so you can feel more relaxed about it, okay?
You don't want to came on here aggressive, brother.
No, listen, no, bro. On your show, you talk all types of shit.
Well, come on my show and stand on what you're talking about.
Okay, that's not a problem. I'm gonna figure it out. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you one question. So, what's your idea? I'm asking you because you're not talking to a regular person. You're talking to a nigga that has a degree in biology. I understand.
What is that supposed to mean?
No. Let me ask you a question.
Just get to the point. I don't want to hear the banter.
My point is, where the fuck did he come from, bro? Where did it come from? You think that's Asia? And if it did come from West Asia 70,000 years ago, what the fuck that got to do with you?
Got you. First of all, you were supposed to explain EM78 being the basal population in Egypt.
That's easy. That's super
That's
easy.
what you're supposed to explain, not deflecting.
But that Nubian shit you use, that's old. You know how many times I showed that? 3-4 years ago.
Got you. That's more banter. That's more banter, brother. That's more banter. Can you explain the EM78 being the basal population? I don't want to hear all that.
Yes, I could.
Okay, explain it. Explain it, brother. I'm waiting on you to explain it.
You waiting for me to explain it?
The EM78 being the basal population of ancient Egypt. Explain.
Where did it come from?
No, listen. Do you have any evidence pointing towards EM78 having an ancient presence?
Yes.
Okay, when? When the Nakata period?
In Egypt isn't even fucking the part of Egypt that you're talking about. You gotta, when you talk about EM78, you gotta look at where did it develop? Where did it pop up at? Where did the basal branch of it pop up at after B65?
Got you.
I'm saying, where did it pop up at?
Show me. Okay, so what I need from you is to show me the basal population in the Nakata period. I need to see it.
That's easy.
Okay, so what, you gonna point me to a citation?
No, I'm gonna give it to your ass unexpectedly because I'm not one of them dumbass niggas that debate and give y'all information and y'all try to chop and screw.
It's not a debate. You told me to call you to give me an explanation.
This is what I'm gonna do.
Give me the source.
I'm gonna come on your show. I'm gonna tell you what the fuck it is unexpected. And I'm not gonna use that old ass shit you use because that DE shit, the FM89, which is FM89 ain't even have whatever. That shit old. A lot of that shit is outdated. I went through that shit 4 years ago. That Teen Touches that just put out, and being your age, that shit old. Posted that when that shit first came out. That's old. But what I'm trying to tell you
more banter, man. I just need more answers. I don't want to hear the banter.
Okay. Well, I got you, bro. But I'm gonna come on your show unexpectedly and give it to you. That's what the fuck I'm gonna do.
Well, I can go live right now. We can do it right now.
How the fuck you gonna go live when I'm in the car? I'm in my car driving. I got a light, bro. I got real shit going on.
What is that supposed to mean? You talking like you got it now, man. You should have it on you right now. What are you talking about? I can go into what I'm bringing up.
You're recording me. Oh, okay. While you recording me, record this. Yes, I got it. But I'm gonna fuck you up, and you talk a lot of shit. You keep my name in your mouth.
So this wasn't about. I'm gonna make. I could make 10 more. I could make 10 more. I could make 10 more. I can make.
Niggas ain't people die. Y'all some ignorant ass niggas.
Got you.
Y'all gangbang with this shit.
Got you. Got you. All I'm asking for is the proof for EM78B in the basal population, brother. That's all I'm asking for. And 5 minutes in, you haven't given it to me yet.
I'm not giving you shit. Come on, your shit on the
Maybe because you don't have it. Maybe because it doesn't exist. Maybe that's what it is.
No, you niggas sneaky.
That's what it is. You don't have no source. You ain't got no citation.
Do you have a source about the Hebrews being B1, B1A?
All you basically now here we go again. Again, how does that validate EM78 being the basal population?
Do you have a source about Hebrews being E1, B1A?
All right, so when you done doing that, when you done doing that, I'm waiting for the EM78 basal population in ancient Egypt in the Cairo. Oh, so you don't have it. All you have is ad hominems. All you have is ad hominems, red herrings, attacks. I haven't heard no citation. You didn't mention a geneticist. You didn't tell me what work. It's my show. Come on there and show me the information. You haven't showed me the show, man. Give me the show. Give me the source, bro. Give me the source. So that's all you wanted me to call you for, so you can just spew a whole bunch of ad hominems? Because you don't have no scholarship? You don't have no scholarship. That's what you're telling me. You don't have any scholarship. But all you did was call. You wanted me to call you so you can have an ad hominem war. You want an ad hominem war, bro. I just want a source. I just want a source, bro. I just want a source, man.
I'm gonna make you niggas famous. I got you,
bro.
Keep listening. I'm gonna make you.
Okay, so give me the EM78 sample then.
Yeah, I'm not giving you no source now.
Oh, so you don't have it? I'm gonna just assume you don't have it because you came over here talking. No, I don't see the proof for it. No, I didn't hear it. Where is it? Where is it?
That shit don't work.
Oh, asking for proof is a mind game now. Asking for evidence, you cannot get evidence from you guys, man. You guys spew claims all the time, man. What's the difference between you and Black Jesus Minister? You and Black Jesus Minister are the same people, bro. You the same. You and Black Jesus Minister are the same people, man. I can't get any information from you. All you want to do is attack me personally and give red herrings. So can I get the information?
You know I'm Fulani, right? For real. I'm not like you.
So wait a minute, you Fulani, right?
I'm African.
So give me the EM78. Okay, EM78. I want to know the EM78 information.
Don't even worry about that. I got.
All right. So what you Fulani? What's your white chromosome?
My father's African American. I'm E1B1A, nigga.
You E1B1A? Hey,
yes,
okay, majority of. So you're not related to a lot of those Fulanis, then?
Who told you that? You don't know nothing about genetics, do you?
What is the what's the major clay? Hold on, what's the highest frequency? No, stop, bro, stop. What's the highest frequency? Hold on. Are there any European clades amongst the Fulani, paternal clades?
Fulani genetics different based off region.
No, answer the question, bro. Are there any European clades amongst the Fulani?
I wouldn't call it European. You have some T with them, and you have also a little J, but mostly T. That's the only Eurasian component. And also, some of them have, when you go to Sudan, it becomes R1B1A2 or the R1BBA8.
There we go.
But when you go into the Hausa of northern Nigeria, they're R1BBA8. But 70%, if you look into it, of Fulani is haplogroup 24, another signature or nomenclature for E1B1A. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all, bro. Like, I don't know where y'all get y'all information from.
Hey, listen, I never denied E1B1A being amongst the Fulani, but one thing I do bring forth is those European claims.
Because my mother's Fulani, huh? You say what?
I said I just point out the fact that they have European clades amongst them.
I wouldn't call that European, my brother. I wouldn't call it.
Well, on the geneticist level, they would call it European, just like you call it E1B1A African.
No, but you got to be careful with that because there's a difference between Neolithic European and modern European or Bronze Age Eurasian.
I'm using the nomenclature of the geneticists, what I find in their textbooks, brother.
Well,
they call FM89 lineages, they call them European clades.
But they can't
take up the argument with them.
But you got to be careful how you read that because FM89 is the predecessor of Europeans and it's highly enthusiastic. So how the fuck you can't say? I'm not. Listen,
FM. Okay, so if I pull up a source that talk about FM88, most of their lineages are being associated with Europe, and they're calling them, and they're even naming them European.
But let me explain
just like you name A, B, and E African.
Bro, let me explain why. It's an explanation why. FM89 is the predecessor of most Eurasians.
I know that.
But even though, so listen, there's a difference, right? You seem a little knowledgeable. There's a difference, and this is what I mean by the manipulation. This is why I don't play with people, bro. Because people like you are manipulative because you're knowledgeable about what you're doing. So
manipulative.
Yeah, you are. FM89, no, for real, bro. Listen, I'm not capping. I know intelligent people or people that got a little sense of anything when I listen to them. And people are very manipulative about shit. FM89 is the difference between modern Europeans, Bronze Age Europeans, and Neolithic Europeans. Or even basal, which means branch off base. So what I'm trying to tell you is that FM89, which is the predecessor of most Europeans, the predecessor root looks nothing like modern Europeans. You even thought FM89 was some early Sudanese. In that same article that you posted.
Brother, I understand that the original Europeans don't look like modern Europeans. I understand that. But the point is, those clades come from them. Like, for instance, Cheddar Man was I. Okay,
yes,
so
the
Mesolithic Europeans. So if I find somebody in Africa with the paternal clade I, on a geneticist level, they would say that he has a European clade. There's nothing wrong with that.
But listen, FM89 is not really found in Europe. It's mostly found in India. There's also a recent article where it says most Eurasians descend from India, which is based on the FM89.
Well, we understand it because in the Sanskrit and all that's Indo-European, so we understand they got a connection. They have a connection. We understand that.
Here's the trick, though, my brother.
It's not a trick. It's just
no. Listen, this is the trick.
It's just what the scientists came up with, bro. It's the nomenclature you got a problem with.
Listen, no, I don't have a. Listen, I'm trying to explain something to you. FM89 predates Indo-European language.
I know that.
So, no. Let me get it all out, though. You're not letting me talk. So Indo-European language is only 4,000 years old or 5,000 years old. And we understand what happened. Before that, you had Bedouins down there or Javidian type people that were responsible for Harappa. And FM89 even predates the Harappa civilization.
Of
so
course.
What I'm saying is, bro, when we looking at these markers, it predates language. So like you just said, I'm just adding on to what you just said. You said that but when FM89 developed,
no, my point of bringing Indo-European, it shows that those people were connected because they're all the same language fiber.
Well, no, the Bedouin language isn't Indo-European.
No. Sanskrit and all that's Indo-European, bro.
Yes, that's Indo-European.
Yeah.
The Sanskrit, Hittite, the language that we speak, Persian, all that's Indo-European.
So you can use that data, but you can use that data and infer that a demic diffusion happened between those two localities. You understand?
I mean, of course, because we understand the Aryan model when some Bronze Age Eurasians migrated down and brought Indo-European customs. Those same Indo-European speakers who were the milk drinkers that brought Indo-European and Western Europe, the Yemenis, that they call them, that nomenclature they call them. So yes, Indo-Europeans did go down to India, but what I'm trying to say is, when we use these the nomenclature that they use, like European and Indo-European, FM89 is way older than that language family. That's
okay. So stop using the terminology. Stop saying African then.
Hold on. Listen, let me explain what I'm trying to say, King. FM89 predates Indo-European, and what I'm trying to say is that that's right after CF. And you know, before CF, it came from what they call scientific atom or Eurasian atom.
Eurasian atom, yeah.
Eurasian atom, which is CTM168. Then you get CF, and then you get a branch or a peeled off of CF, which becomes independent FM89, which gave rise to all of the Eurasian. But this is what I'm trying to say, though. That's fraternally. Just like mitochondrial DNA L3, she gave rise to N and M, and some of the N went a certain way and became the different markers that you found. All the M's, M1, M2, M4, M5, M6, M7, all the way to M9. You found most of the M's in India. M1 went back into Africa, and N, which probably developed northeastern part of Africa, she gave rise to all the population outside. It's like the ROA gave rise to that different branches as it went into the Arabian Peninsula. But L3 was the mother that gave rise to all these people. Bottom line is this, though. When they say European, like I can say African because they do understand the history of Africa. Africa or Attica was the indigenous tribe that was conquered by Scipio Africanus. He took on their name in the northern part of the continent. The rest of the continent wasn't called that. People
I know.
Said it, so what I'm saying is that because we base things off time now, I say African. They wasn't saying it. I don't know what the fuck they saying, but what I did on a recent article from 2020, it said that all European men descend from someone in India. It's a whole article about it. And they basing it off FM89. European descent from that. I wouldn't call it no damn European. I call it Eurasian. That's what the fuck it was.
Well, Eurasian, European clay, whatever. But the point is, that outside of Africa.
Europeans aren't white, though. Go ahead.
I never said they were. You honestly don't know anything I stand on.
Okay, let me listen to you. I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
I mean, my main thing is this. First of all, I never teach that all Europeans are white or European means white. I just point out that you have these European clays within these people that will be called African, right? And that would mean that Africa's not uniform as some people would make it out to seem to be. You understand? But that's off topic. Africa's not uniform at all. No,
because Africa is the most diverse, and also you have back migration situations that occurred. I always talked about that. That's the same thing your boy Zion don't fucking understand. Like, you know, you can't read some late addition to Mesopotamia and think that determines Eurasians have been going back and forth in a continent, as I talked about, since the basal Eurasian components in Iberian Mauritius. That doesn't even make sense. That's silly shit. Before Egypt even was unified, see, I don't teach that. First of all, I want you to understand, my brother, and this is why you gotta understand Ngozi. I'm a Pan-African. I represent the whole continent. I don't just throw Kemet up in the front line. I embrace my ancestors in West Africa. My mother's Fulani, which is Fulani. Why would I try to be anything outside of that? My father's an African of the diaspora, a middle class American, which is of North America. Why would I want to be anything outside of West and Central Africa, bro? Not to mention I'm a Muslim. I just don't play games. I don't sugarcoat shit. Zion likes to manipulate information. Why? Because he has intelligence to do that. Intelligent people can do that when they know some of the shit they saying is bullshit. So you're correct. Africa was not unified. You had humans spend more time in Africa than outside of Africa. Then some niggas leak out of Africa and then turn around and come back in, mutate outside of Africa slightly, come back in bringing certain traits, mingling with the population, create new groups. The genes predates the culture. It predates the culture. So when you talk about the mummies, we might as well just talk about it. When you talk about Nakata, and before the Nakata, you know, about the Tajans and the Badarians and all these people, we have to look at what is the trail, the genetic trail of these people. Because if you understand the origin of EM78, and I'm sure you do, because I'm sure you read, where's the origin of EM78? It tells you in an article it's split between northern Sudan and upper Egypt. Not the part of Sudan when you found that article, because that article was old. It said DE, which is Yap positive. Because it's old, you don't even know the clade of what they're saying. That's why they have to upgrade information. They have to upgrade it. So it said DE or the Yap positive, which is a yes associate protein, can be any branch of E, and it can be a branch of independent D.
We understand that.
So it said, so you understand, okay, cool. Then A marker, which makes sense for those populations in Sudan, because the Khmer culture before Tasseti was two groups of people. If you read the more up to date, the A marker is a Nilo-Saharan. Most Nilo-Saharan speakers have that A and B marker, but the B is absent. But we know that the B was there, or the BM60 was there, because even modern day Coptics have it at 20%. Even though they didn't find it at that time. We're talking about a country, brother. We're not talking about a state for one reason. So if you get the more up-to-date articles, karma was split. Even the people that created the Patapaya, that shit was split. You can still find the FM. You can still find the FM89 there. You can still find that the early Nilo-Saharan market really reduced now. There's been a bottleneck on that, but you find a B there, and you find a lot of EM78 there. The branch of EM78, it is the EV12 signal. It's the EV32 symbol, which is the same symbol that they have in Somalia, the same symbol that they have in Eritreans.
Excuse me, my brother. Listen. So just like I said in my video, you're using modern population density and inferring that, and retrojecting that in the past. You're using modern population density. What I'm asking for is ancient specimens. Hold on, listen, brother. I'm asking for ancient specimens that we can refer to say, okay, this represents people that live in Nakata during the Nakata period in Egypt.
So let me ask you a question. Have you read an article called "People of the Early Green Sahara"?
Yes, I have.
So you read the article, right? What was the markers that they said that was there at high probability? What did it say?
Probability. That's their postulation. That's their population. I understand what did it say? I don't know it word for word, brother, but I know they do. I know they do parsimoniously put E1B1B there. I understand it from a parsimonious standpoint, but I just want some concrete evidence.
No. Here's another kind. Have you looked at the Iberian DNA?
Yes.
What did it say?
They're E1B1B.
What clade?
I don't know the clade off back, brother. I have to look at the information.
I'm gonna tell you.
EM78.
It was EM78, 78 high as fuck.
Right.
So let me ask you a question. From your studies in EM78 in the form of the most basal of EV12, where did they say the origin of it is?
I believe in East Africa. That's where they say the origin is.
Northeast Africa, near northern Sudan, and upper Egypt.
But my point, okay, but that's all parsimonious and postulation. Can I get us? Hold on. You understand me? I understand what they postulate, brother. I understand what they posit. I'm asking for.
Why would you disregard that? I mean, like,
because
that's like me asking you about it. No, it's like me asking. You don't have. Listen, I'm not being disrespectful, and I know I'm being recorded, and that's fine. I don't give a fuck. If you don't understand my voice, bro, this is how I talk.
Okay.
I'm just a Chicago brother. I'm not being disrespectful to you. I just heard you was half Mexican. It's whatever. This is a scholastic. That don't even matter. That don't even matter, bro. That don't even matter. You're human. I'm
EU 290, man.
Yeah, okay, you're the same thing as me paternally. Whatever. We E1B1A. More power to you. But this is what I'm saying, though, brother. So let me ask you this. So you can't denounce the populations, and you can't denounce. Look at the human or the people in population. You can't just throw it out and say because they haven't found populations in the Nakata that this determines who they wasn't and who they were. It's like you actually, do you have proof the Hebrew Israelites or relics of Hebrew Israelites? It's been E1B1A, any branch of E1B1A.
I got you.
I mean, you find E1B1B over there. You know that from the Natufians. You know that.
And EP2.
And EP2, which is the predecessor of EV38 and EM215.
Yes.
That's right. And also CTM168.
Yep.
You know that.
Yep.
So what I'm saying, I love it. So what I'm saying is, but when we come into after the little age, after the Bronze Age, when the Hebrews start to form, we can't prove that those people had E1B1A. But there's articles about the Canaanites that populated Canaan in the Bronze Age and what markers they had. So we can't say ultimately, you be talking about the probabilities. You're going to reject that, but still hold on to the idea that Hebrews E1B1A when you don't know that for sure.
Okay, I got you. Here's my response to that. Here's the problem. I actually have a base population to work with. I have AM13 now. You understand? In Northern Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
We have plenty of samples. It's not just one. We have plenty of samples. And
of course, but that's a Nile, of course. They wouldn't allow it.
And we understand the history of the Nile River and why people started to inhabit it. At first, it was packed and crowded, right? Until the advent of the Green Sahara comes along, and the monsoon sweeps across. Okay, so we know that history. People move to the Sahara.
Right.
After the desiccation of the Sahara, and it started to become the desert we know it as today, they moved back to the Nile.
Okay, well, we know that. So let me ask you this. Okay, pause right there. They moved back to the Nile. So when they went into the Nile, based off what was in the Nile, you had those melodic speakers with the A and the B. Those markers was laying around from the southern parts of Sudan that went north. But when they came from that Nile, they just didn't bring EM78. Because if you look at the Iberian Maroons, they have the oldest signals of EM78, bro. And these people were part of the early Great Sahara. The Keithians are fragments or groups that descend from the Iberian Maroons.
I agree with you.
So what I'm saying is that when the EM78 dispersed back east, like you just said it.
Yeah, I did.
So listen, they link out of the Sahara and they go east. As they go east, it's already waves of people in the Nile, which is the melodic speakers that were there.
AM13. I would say AM13.
We can't reject. BM60 is also old stuff because that's a melodic marker, even though they didn't find it amongst that group, but it was there. BM60 was there because if you look at the modern Coptics, where the hell does the BM60 come from?
I will give you that because we understand AMB and BM60 was there already. Yes. We understand that.
So look, it's another market that they also brought that came from the Green Sahara. See, now I can talk to you because I built you out. We good. So here's another one. There was another market that came also from the early Green Sahara that came from Southern Europe 9,000 years ago. You know what that is? R1B1A2. Yeah. That motherfucker also went from the Green Sahara and went over there into the Nile Valley. And that's the same branch of Y chromosome that King Tut had. And they actually put that in the original article. He didn't have M269. He had VA8 because the original article said, which is bogus how they said it. They said he was R1B1A2. A2 is VA8. That's not M269. But that's an early Eurasian or early Southern European population that found their way into the Nile. You have Bell Beaker population that was going into the Green Sahara, coming from going through the Gibraltar,
right,
the Iberian Peninsula, going into the Gibraltar, mixing with those populations. That's why they got an article out called Early North Africans had Eurasian and European, Near Eastern and European, it said Near Eastern and European genes 5,000 years ago. And they came and they found the SLC 245 there. So when you were talking about North Africa, these niggas been mixed up and creolized.
I understand. I'm not taking nothing from that, but my point was the pre-Karma population and the Kudruka population, they both have what in common, those AM13 samples. So we can infer, now we got some data that we can infer, okay, this is that population that was largely sweeping from the Sahara, right?
But the AM13 was already in some fragments lingering up the Nile, just like those halfland groups that linked from the Nile and went into the Sahara, as you just said, and then came back up. They were the ones that was partially responsible for giving rise to the so-called Iberian Maroons. That EM78, when you look at the Iberian Maroons DNA, it says Sub-Saharan African at 35%, North African, and then it says Near Eastern, which is the basal Eurasian component, right? Which came from the Near Eastern wave. And if you look at that North African portion, that's absent of the later North African portion, at the base of it is East Africa, that Omotic group. Even if you want the Tufians, the recent article on the Tufians, I could send it to you, my brother. It says 6% Omotic based off the edict they had over there. What's going on?
But what's the autosomal? What did the autosomal reveal about those Iberian Maroons? Who are they related to?
They were mixed up. They were 35 autosomally. They were 35% Sub-Saharan African in between Yoruba-like and Hadza-like. Hadza, not Hausa, but Hadza, Hadza.
Yeah.
North Africa, they said it was more of a Neolithic North Africa, not more recent North Africa, because they were absent of a lot of the later Bronze Age genetic.
What was the other 2/3? What was the other 2/3? That's important.
2/3 come from it came from the Near East.
The Near East. So that's more of approximate, because that's showing a time period where they would have got that DNA and that information from.
Yeah, but let me ask you this though. Let me just say this to add on. That Near Eastern population, it gets tricky because we understand that the basal Eurasian, which means breadth off base, a lot of those genetics is after mitochondrial DNA in, and some of it is that's maternally. Some of that stuff was already lingering in the Levant, and a lot of it was high. This is why a lot of basal Eurasians is absent of a high level of Neanderthal genes. a lot of it found refugees in North Africa a long time ago, and also a lot of it was lingering in the western part of the Arabian Peninsula. Even when you go to the Horn of Africa, they have Eurasian genes going back as early as 23,000 years ago. That's that basal Eurasian component. Which what they cluster is that so-called Near Eastern compared to the later Near Eastern wave that came from the Bronze Age that filtered out Canaan. And those Armenian type, pre-Armenian type people that were coming from the Near Caucasus, coming into Canaan, reducing the indigenous Natufian population down. Because the Natufians were already creolized. They had a portion of North African in them, they had a basal Eurasian component in them, and they had some shit that was coming from Anatolia that was in them.
I know. That means if they would have all these components in order to admix, you would have to be around those people to admix.
Yes.
Right.
That's my yes. That's what I teach. Yes, that's what I teach, my brother. That's all I teach.
So we got people. We got evidence of 8,000 years ago, 800, clay to be. I can't think.
That's in Cameroon. And he wasn't there. He wasn't nowhere near Cameroon. I don't know what you're saying. I talked about this.
I was about to go into it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what happens is in Cameroon, you're absolutely correct. This is why I say you got sense. I listened to your show after they told me who you were. And that's why I say, come on, bro. So yes, you're correct. In Cameroon, there was no E's there at that time. There was only A00. I think it was B, if I'm not mistaken.
There was a B. I don't know if it's M60. I can't remember which one it was.
I think it was BM60. But here's the trick. What was E?
North of the Sahara.
It was north. That's what I think. It was north of the Sahara. The same people that was creating the Tassili cave art, Pheasant cave art. That shit was all in the north. Bro, that's all I've been teaching. So I agree. Like, and some even us being West African, me being Fulani niggas ain't nothing but a bunch of Creole people. And our genetics, they distinct based off region. But if you look at the Fulani genetics, it's a lower percentage of Eurasian in them. Autosomally compared to the overall DNA population of Fulani. Because some people say Fulani paternally aren't E1B1A. 70% of them are. But in Cameroon, they got the EM33, the same market that the Dogon got. Then when you go into Sudan, they R1BBA8, and they got the E1B1B EM78 in Sudan, in that part about it. You get what I'm saying? So there was already a creolization going on with a lot of us in the Sahel that was in between before going south of the Sahara. Even when he went down there, he kind of went into Cameroon, through Nigeria, first through Mali, through southern Algeria, through Mali. They go west, end up in Niger. From Niger, they go down. From Niger, they spread through Nigeria before you got a Yoruba, before you got an Igbo. Then they go into Cameroon. They come on the pygmies that were there. They dominate over those people and cause what they call in the genetics a bottleneck, which is a reduction of the population.
Right.
So you don't find the beta as high no more, but you still find A00 amongst the Mbuti people. That particular cluster, you still find it there. It remnants to something that exists far before E1B1A coming there. E1B1A is not indigenous to sub-Saharan Africa. That's a fact. E1B1A.
So you mean tell me it wasn't there for 10,000 years?
Message.
No, to be honest with you, that's why you gotta listen to me, bro.
No, I know.
That's what I'm saying. Like y'all thought I was saying something. No, I always said no. E1B1A is a northerner. It came from the north. It came from all those E's you find. Because now you do got a branch of E1B1A, EV38 that was found in multiple in Ethiopia, but it's active M2. So when you go into like early Mali, the article about sickle cell development in the wet Sahara, and it talks about how a branch of EV38 lingers into the western part of the Sahara 19,000 years ago, and it went through a wet phase, and we developed sickle cell to fight off malaria. Mm-hmm. That was all in the north. We were going from Abyssinia, the northern parts of Ethiopia, Eritrea, North Africa, further north, and some of us were going even leaking into the Levant, because remember, the Tufian branch of E1B1A is the descends from that EZ827 branch. That was also in North Africa. So a lot of us E's was in the north before going south.
So
I always thought that.
Okay, yeah, we agree there. But what I'm saying, all right, so can we get old samples? Is there any old samples that you know of E1B1A in Northern Africa? Any ancient DNA there?
They have, the only sample that they have of E1B1A that's active of M2 is based off the multiple that they found from Ethiopia. Now, in North Africa, E1B1A it's an article called "The Origin of Sickle Cell," and one of the geneticists that was speaking in the article, he was trying to say that a branch of EV38 before M2 leaked through the Green Sahara of the Sahel 19,000 years ago, not south of the Sahara, not in Cameroon, but in the northern region.
So he postulated that.
but it makes sense though. But we do know, but we do know there's an E1B1A branch in Ethiopia amongst multiple. That's a fact. They got the fossils of that.
I thought multiple was EP2.
No. You got to look at the upgrade. They upgraded it. He was E1B1A, but he wasn't M2. He was called E1B1AC or E1B1A2.
Man, that's a problem. That's a problem because didn't he have Eurasian admixture as well?
No, he didn't have it. The other group after him had.
Sure, send me that. You're going to have to send me that. Because when I read...
I got you, King. I got you. It's the one that you read is from 2015. And then they had another one that came afterwards in 2016 where they had to remodify. And they said, like, it wasn't that. Me personally, I know coming from that part of Ethiopia, he had basal Eurasian in him. Not more recent Bronze Age Eurasian.
They dated it. They dated it back to the microsatellites, back to 3,000 years before present.
Yes.
That'll take you to the Iron Age.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I got it. I want to read what you're saying. It was updated, so I'm gonna read that before I go any further into that. But also,
go ahead.
Also, I wanted to talk about the E1B1A, the oldest specimens. The reason why I brought that up is because they found E1B1A in France. They found it in Iran. Where else did they find it at? In Corsica, right outside of Italy. They found EV38 chromosomes.
Yeah, they found one with the BMAC culture in the Near East, in the Syrian region. They did find one in the Malta area near Italy. But what's the timeline of it?
7,000 years ago in Corsica, about 4,000 years ago in Iran, and in France about 5,000 years ago.
Right. So, but that makes sense because it's just like you got a branch of EV12 that was in Southern Europe 7,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago. But guess what? They keep saying the same thing about this. All those E's dispersed and leaked through North Africa. They all leaked through North Africa. Picked up some genes. It's just like me, for example, King. I don't. If you want to call me African American or whatever, West African, Fulani, whatever. I say Western Sudani Creole. I like that. That's what I identify as. If I go to Puerto Rico, reproduce with a few women, but I got a set of kids here by, indigenous. A sister, indigenous African black woman from Africa, descent in America, whatever. My Puerto Rican children that comes back, I got a son over there, then I got to turn around and got a child. I just use my wife, for example. My wife's Somali. She's Somali. So I got my son by her. His DNA test, he got a higher component of Eurasian in him. I already got it in me because the people running, my grandmother was also Algerian on my mother's side. So I got a decent amount of Eurasian in me as well. But what I'm saying is that if you get children and you start reproducing, that's what happened with a lot of these E's that leaked out of North Africa. These dudes, they leave out, they mix up with other people in Meridian groups, they come back in and start mixing with other people, just like when you find the pre-pottery Neolithic A, B, and C group. The pre-pottery Neolithic A, B, and C group, you find an early branch of EM96 over there in one of them groups. You know that, right?
I know EM96 is out there.
Yeah. So these dudes was leaking out through the Horn, and I mean not through the Horn, but North Africa, and they were going over there, reproducing and coming back. So my argument isn't having Eurasian in us. I mean we're Homo sapiens. It's mixed. My argument is that even before the Nakata, if everybody listened to me, it wasn't a single lineage for the Nakata. Even when you look at the skull analysis, and look at what they were saying about how these people look, they only started, it's kind of tricky, they only started mingling with people from Iraq. Because they had Eurasian genes in there before they even started mixing with people, or mingling with people from Iraq.
I'm glad you brought it up, the Nakata 2 period, right?
Yeah, they only started networking with Iraq, that wave of Eurasians, in the Nakata 2 period. But before that, they already had mitochondria that was completely Eurasian in some components. If you look at the Nakata clusters, they talked about their phenotype, some of it being Somali-like, some of it being Mediterranean-like, Even with us, you think E1B1A look the way a lot of Nigerians that got it at 90% look today?
I don't think that. I would say no.
No, they look like a lot of those early dudes before going south look very similar to Eritrean people or Somali people. That's the best because even when you look at the Kepian scroll that was in Niger, he was very distinct from a lot of the recent sub-Saharan Africans that got the late pronathistic features that they found. The earliest place they found that at is 7,500 years ago with a Suleiman in northern Mali on the way going south. So think about that.
No, I agree, but I brought that outside DNA up because we find older DNA in Corsica, Iran, France, stuff like that. We don't find this, at least I haven't seen it, in the regions that people are saying that we were thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. And you can say, oh, well, Egypt's hot, Africa's hot. Well, now they're starting to pull the DNA from the muscle that's the bone that's associated with your eardrum. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So they're able to preserve. So if we were in these places for so long, we would have some kind of archaeological or biological assemblage to show that.
Well, what's going on, King? You are aware the human genome only been mapped out since 2002 or 2003. A lot of stuff is being updated, it's being upgraded. They're adding on. They have to find, now they're able to sequence old fossils way better than what they could 10 years ago or 12 years ago.
Right.
So they're gonna find out a lot of stuff. Just because we don't know about it now, don't mean it's absent. It's not there. And that's my whole argument, King. My whole argument is people saying what it is and what it's not. If we base it on the high probability, it makes sense. But to say that it's not, bro, we got to just wait for that as having a scientific mind. I'll never jump the gun and say something. I'll never jump the gun and say this is what it is. But based off where they say EM78 form, if you look up the origin of it, it only makes sense to think about what these people in the Nakata were. Or if you look at the people in the early Green Sahara, what was going on over there? Or you look at the Iberian Maroons in the northern parts of Africa, all the way down there by Morocco, it only makes sense of what was going on there. Or you look at Malta Boy. I'm going to send you that article, the later edition. He got a branch of EV38 that's acting of EM2. This is another branch of EV38, meaning that they're the larger, because you got a bunch of clades of E1B1A after E1B1A2 and E1B1A1 only in Africa. So even if you do got a branch of E1B1A in Italy or in Rome or whatever, or even in France, you find the highest wave of it and different signals of it within Africa.
But that can be explained by what you stated earlier, population replacement, which was clear because we reduced and displaced a lot of them B&A lineages, and we pushed them down south. And we started to dominate Africa, but that's recent. That's not
so let me ask you
10,000 years ago. That's like.
Here's the thing, okay? Do you know how long it takes for terminal snips, not a tentative, but terminal snips or subclades to mutate or have all these multiple lines? It doesn't happen in 3,000 years or 2,000 years. Like, if you look at the percentage, the terminal snips or subclade within E1B1A, that couldn't have just happened 3,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago.
I got you. I'm not arguing that, but there's information out there that will what's the word? Go the opposite direction there, because when you study EV12, many of those clades came in within a few centuries. So I don't rock with that because we got empirical data showing something different.
We got to be careful because empirical data, we got to be careful on what it's called something in a wave cup genetically to see if they developed in the past. And like, for example, that EM81 shit that the Bourbon got, that wasn't there prior to 2,000, 4,000 years ago. That's a late addition actually a late addition of EZ827, which gave rise to the EM81. It comes out of that family. Just like in Tanzania, the EV1515, which gave the pastoralist group that came from the north and went south, that's a kinship or a brother to EM81. They had earlier subclades that were there prior before. Again, the Iberian Maroons article said that. It talked about the predecessor of EV13 that you find in the Balkans and the predecessor EM81 that was lingering in North Africa way before that whole late addition if EM81 even formed. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we got to be careful. Are they talking about the wave cup genetically? When they're straggling around on the verge, or the couple are coming to do a new subclade within centuries? Because you got too many clades for that just happened in 2,000 years.
Well, population boom. Like, if you're dealing with a population boom, what creates these mutations?
I mean,
right. So a mutation is a quote unquote copying error. We just using layman's terms, right?
Yes, layman's, yes. Mm-hmm.
When we reproduce, a copying error. So the more you reproduce, the more likely you can make those quote unquote copying errors. You have a lot of. You curse on your show if you record. Yes, yeah, I don't mind that.
Okay, so you have a lot of fucking, and you got a lot of time. So of course you're gonna, every time you reproduce, you create copying error, and you have a lot of time. But again, within that time period, it takes time for you to have all these late additions of these different clades. Centuries is if it's on the cup way. But all those clays, bro, even within EV12, you got EV32 branch of that, EV22 branch of that, the EV13. That's a lot, bro.
But
that's a lot.
I understand, but if you throw agrarian in there, the agrarian society, they got a lot of surplus. They're not starving out. They're not bottlenecking as often or as frequent, and they're doing a lot of reproducing. Man, I don't see any dispute with that. You know what I'm saying? As far as how fast they were able to spit those clays out.
But you got to also think about time as well. They will mutate, but you got to think about time as well, my brother. Just like with that R1BA2. That's the oldest branch of R1BVA8 was found in southern Italy with hunter-gatherers 9,000 years ago. And the predecessor before that was in Villabrana man, who was also found in Italy, who they said had dark skin and blue eyes. So, and this nigga was all the way in Italy. How the hell did they end up in the Sahara? Just like, in the Sahara, only 6,500 years ago when the Bell Beaker culture comes in, because we know that the oldest signal for the most basal branch of R1BVA8 isn't in Africa. It's in Europe.
Right.
We understand. So,
which would make them a European clade, like we talked about in the beginning.
No. But see, no. What I said was, in the beginning, I said I wouldn't call FM89. I call it the predecessor of Europeans. I wouldn't call it a European marker when it's acting in Europe and it's mostly found in East and damn near Southeast Asia and India.
Well, that shit's so rare. We know that's not. But I'm saying, of course, we talking about its posterity, the people that come after it. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's what I'm saying. So that's just me. I wouldn't call it a European marker. I wouldn't call it, but R1BA8 definitely European.
So the Chadic people?
Chadic, the Hausa, the Hausa Chadic speakers, they're R1BVA8, some of the Fulani in Eastern, and then in the Sudan, when they go through the Sahel and end up in Northern Sudan, between Northern Sudan, some of them got R1BVA8. Some Fulani in Cameroon got R1BVA8.
What was the route for them to get into Africa?
Which one, R1BVA8?
Yeah, how did they get into Africa?
They came to the Gibraltar area, through the Iberian Peninsula, and they ended up in the Atlas Mountains of Morocco, and they went south. They spent a lot of time in the southern Mediterranean part before going south intermingling with people.
So you choose that route, not the Levantine route, not the corner.
I don't choose the Levantine route because I base it off the zone that they found it in, the direction that it was in, like Villabrana man, the zone it was in Italy, and you don't even find any VA8 branches in the Levant area like that. You find a branch of R, but it ain't VA8. So it makes sense based off the consensus that's out, and I agree with that. It makes sense. But let me deal with what makes sense. It makes sense that it came through the Mediterranean and went through the Gibraltar area, ended up in North Africa, and kind of filtered down. Not to mention some of the Moroccans in Morocco, near the Atlas Mountain, and right up Morocco, still have R1BVA8, and populations of Berbers in the Siwa Oasis in the desert near Egypt still have R1BVA8 before going further south into the Chadic area or northern Nigeria. But we got to also remember this too, King. The Fulani, my people dominated the Hausa. They wasn't always Hausa Fulani. They dominated them. The Fulani come through Dakar Oasis, then they go through the Sahel, then they go into Senegal, mix up with the Siri, pick up the Niger-Congo language, become Fulani or Puler, go back through the Sahel, then they go back east, and then they start to conquer like the Hausa groups and all those other groups until they pierce Sudan again. So Fulani is picking up genes on their way to different directions. That's why when you go into Senegal, mostly all the Fulani is E1B1A. When you go into Guinea, a lot of them is E1B1A. Then they differ, but they pick up R1BVA8. Then Cameroon, then in Sudan, they got the earliest E1B1B branch, and they got R1BVA8 over there. They genetics differ based off region in the trail.
Well, of course, but back when I was saying like we don't have none of those specimens with the E. You said okay, they started mapping this stuff out 20 years ago, roughly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when they started mapping this stuff out, we starting to see. And you mentioned one I wasn't even aware of. You said they found it in Syria. I would like to see that paper.
Yeah, yes. Look up. I will send it to you, brother. As a matter of fact, when I get off this phone, everything I say, bro, I will send it to you.
Yeah, you said E1B1A is in Syria, ancient Syria.
They found the branch of it in Syria. It's called the BMAC culture, and they found the branch.
Oh yeah. I got that paper, the BMAC. I got that. Yeah.
And they got E1. They found the branch of E1B1B there and E1B1A over there. Yes.
They start sequencing the genome, and we're pulling up these specimens out the ground, and we're seeing E1B1A everywhere else except where we've been told it's supposed to be at. You don't find that kind of odd?
I mean, for me, bro, based off the consensus and based off macrosatellites and based off the mutation and time of the molecular clocks following the timeline, for me, E1B1A is just like every other E. It developed in North Africa and it leaked out. That's me because it makes sense. And that branch they found, that Amotic boy over there with multi, which showed an absent branch that's distinct from M2, because you got to understand, which I'm sure you do, M2 got a lot of subclades.
Yes.
Within E1B1A.
Mm-hmm.
But then they got a whole nother branch that's absent of M2 with its own unique subclade in Ethiopia amongst Armatics, which is the E1B1A2 or E1B1C.
C, yeah.
Yeah, E1B1C or E1B1A2. The nomenclature can change. But yeah. But it's a whole lot of branches amongst them that's absent of the M2, which say it's common sense. You're like, damn, this is crazy. But I'm aware of the one that they found in France. And yes, E1B1A spent a lot more time outside of sub-Saharan Africa.
There you go.
Than it did, it spent a lot of time outside of that area before going into sub-Saharan Africa, dominating those areas. But for me, he developed in the northern parts of Africa. Those people that you showed in that article that me and you are aware of, with the Napata Playa builders, those niggas was neurotic. But some of them dudes had FM89, which showed that a wave of Eurasians kind of slightly came in. And I'm sure they wasn't white, because they was absent of SLC 245 at that time. They were black people. Probably something that looked like a Dravidian, a Bangladeshi person, mixing up with these melodic people.
This is a
recording. But then when they looked at the recent article based off the northern parts of Sudan, they were always similar to Bija-like. And also based off earlier recent studies, EM78 developed highly in the northern parts of Sudan that was absent for the other way before going into the Sahara and then coming back in. As you said, Sahara kept going through the Holocene glacier period with the gasification, people going backwards and forward. So, genetics are going to differ based on region. Just like all Europe and man aren't EP252 or E1B1A78. Some of them got another branch of E1B1A. You know what I'm saying? Even though my paternal lineage is more common in Europe and men. But you also found my marker amongst some Bantu speakers in Tanzania. You also find E1B1A78 amongst some Fulani, and it's amongst some Wolof in Senegal. But it's more highly, based on Brent Kittle's model and other models, it's more highly founded amongst Yoruba men. Does it start there? No. E1B1A78 predates the Yoruba culture by far.
All right, so when we deal with the haplogroup E, clade, we know it came from DE, the parahaplogroup.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We know where D is. We know D went to the Andaman Islands.
Yes.
Tibet, some places in China, the Qiang people have it. And then you have the Ainu people that have it.
Yes.
So when we get to E, you mean to tell me, with all the evidence that we have, these specimens in France and Europe and all these other places, right, in the BMAC culture, that they were stuck in Northern Africa? Is that what we're saying here? Let me get that clear.
I'm not saying they were stuck. No, I'm saying they were moving around. They just filtered out a lot of North Africa.
Okay.
And they were also moving into the Levant and other areas. But here's the thing. I'm sure you're aware of DO.
Yes. DOs in Nigeria.
And DOs in Nigeria, and they were saying in the recent studies, see, it was two. It was one family tree DNA, which they found another branch of that DO shit in a more basal branch in Syria, right? Then they found another branch in Arabia. Then they found another branch. The one in Arabia was more close to the one that was in Nigeria. But then they talked about and said this, based off these findings, DO or DE developed independently in Africa before the out of Africa migration, where a lot of the other groups of CT started to linger out. Even though we know some E's kind of drifted out too. So no, they didn't stay stuck anywhere. But that DO kind of puts a nail on the coffin of where highly E developed. And let's say E did develop somewhere in early West Asia. I don't denounce that. I think scientifically, they didn't look the same way as a lot of the people look today. The Adamese people is a great example of that. You can just imagine what early CT and early E look like. Look at the Adamese people. They have a more basal branch than the people in Japan and Tibet up deep in that region. And they also got mitochondrial DNA M2, M3, and M4. Her sister branches in Egypt, in Ethiopia. That's M1. So imagine what E looked like, even if it did develop somewhere in the western part of the Levant, which is on the plate tectonic of Africa, because Israel sits on the African-Syrian rift. The western part is more on the plate tectonic of Africa. The other part is on the Arabian Peninsula or the Arabian plate tectonic. So let's say it did develop in the western parts of the Levant or western parts of Israel, or even Arabian Peninsula west near Yemen. They still look like a lot of the African people that you see in Africa. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah. I mean, Africa has a lot of looks and phenotypes. So
no. I'm just saying, but it's not just about skin. I'm saying if you look at the Adamese people, those D's,
they look sub-Saharan African. They look sub-Saharan African,
even though they are not. But they still retain a lot of the original features that developed within the continent before leaking out and developing their own cluster. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying that they stay. I never said that they stayed anywhere. My thing was that these dudes, based off the DO and based off what they're finding, because they also found that same signal that they found that dude in Syria. He actually was a Syrian immigrant that lived in Russia. They found the same bunch of DO in another African American dude, which pinpoint again, and this was from 2020, when they found the same signal that they found. First, they had the DO that came out in 2019. Then they turned around and found that signal and said it was still a question mark. Then they turned around and found the more basal branch that they found in the Syrian kid in Russia with an African American. Now they place it E again in Africa, North Africa, not Sub-Saharan Africa. But even if it did develop in early North Africa, in between the cup of Egypt or Israel or Northern Sudan, either way, these people still look highly African. And it predates Egypt, it predates Israel, it predates all that.
It does. I agree. But some people are more married to the idea of the continent, Africa, or the location. I'm more focused on the genes, the people, the ancestors.
Right. And that's how I am. And that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, listening to you, there's no need to be, for me to be, bro, because I thought y'all was just attacking. But I hear you just trying to figure stuff out as well. But talking to you, like I said, man, I mean, you can come off manipulative because you're intelligent. I can listen to what you're saying. You're reading the same shit that I'm reading. You're aware of this. So the thing for me is, we can't say on your half or on my half, thinking scientifically, this is what it is ultimately. But we have to base things off the senses, off the consensus of what makes sense. It only makes sense. People in the Nile Valley wasn't one type of people. They wasn't.
No, I never said that. But from the Kadruka and pre-Karma samples, AM13, if this is the base population that's coming into the Nile, right, the different cataracts of the Nile, then it's safe to infer or assume that this will be the population, representing the population there, since we find so much of it.
And that's in one part of Sudan. That's what I'm saying. They also talk.
We don't have anything up north, bro. During that time.
I mean, EM78. They say based off what they say it started in the northern parts of Sudan. But here's my thing. Okay, A, makes sense that it was lingering in that part of Sudan because that's most of those early Nubians before it was called Nubia that built the Pata Playa with Nilo-Saharan speakers. They were Nilotic. The Egyptians linguistically, in Hebrews, and Berbers, in Somali, in Eritrean, they speak the language. They're within the Afro-Asiatic language family. They're not melodic. they're distinct from those people. So if we follow Christopher Eric, even he has an answer for what Afro-Asiatic started at, near the Red Sea in Ethiopia, 19,000 years ago. The Omatic people that I brought up earlier have the most basal branch of Afro-Asiatic before you get into the Cushitic branches and of Chadic and all that other stuff. So these people were different. You had Nilotic speakers there with the A market that you still find that. Even in an article, people in the early Green Sahara, they talked about a branch of A that was lingering in the Sahara. And they talked about the EM78 in the form of EB32. And they talked about E1B1A that was that was actually closer to if you got it, the EM180. And then they talked about a branch of R1B1A2, which is BA8 that was there, that was in the Great Sahara. That makes sense. What was the Shanghai Empire in Africa? They didn't speak Afro-Asiatic or Niger-Congo. They were mainly Nilotics. So Nilotics was there. The Taboo people of southern Libya speak a Nilotic language. They don't speak a Berber language or Amazon language.
So you putting A all over the place now.
No. You got to remember, King, it makes sense. A would have, let me explain what I'm trying to say. A would have been lingering from West Africa all the way to the southern parts of the Nile. You just said that yourself, but they found the Cameroon.
Right.
Also, it had to be lingering around. These people older than us.
So follow my logic. If we know this population was there, we got a marker, a paternal marker to place on these people, and we see them leaving and going to the Nile. You're right. We don't have the other half. We just have northern Sudan. We don't have any samples in modern day Egypt, but we know this population came from the shrinkage of the Sahara. We know that.
Correct.
So they left the Sahara and tried to survive and go to the Nile. When they went to the Nile, they would represent that base population.
Yes, but also there were also some A's lingering around. Just like, for example, it's an article about the Khoisan. They got A mark, and they all the way in South Africa. And there's also an article that say that they mix Eastern Africans and Southern Africans. The branches of Southern Africans went back east in Ethiopia or near the Nile. So that A shit was stretching. It stretched from that Cameroon area, and it was already some clays that had already lingering in the Nile. And yes, some of them did link back out through the Nile and go back east. But it was already some there. Just like the E branches. You know, the Iberian Rouge is all the way down there in the Mediterranean parts of North Africa. They got EM78, and they also have a mixture between early Near Eastern, early North Africa. Those North Africans were actually East Africans that adapted north. In early Mesolithic West Africans, which is the sub-Saharan component that they found that was Yoruba-like or Hadza-like, that was a colonizer situation. What made up North Africa? The Assyrian culture. Who were the Assyrian culture? Now we got to get into the storyline of these same tools that they found, which it goes back to the Nubian complex. I'm sure you're aware of the Nubian complex based off the Western name that they found, tools that they found that was in the Arabian Peninsula stretching all the way to North Africa from the Assyrian culture.
Uh-huh. You're
aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So where did that Mesolithic West African component come from that was part and partial of the Iberian Maroon that was also, they were already a commonized group in the sense of, this is a wave of different groups of people coming together to form this other set of people that we call Iberian Maroon. It was, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a homogenous situation in North Africa ever.
Yeah, I'm not saying at all. I'm just saying from what I found, what I came across, these people have been most likely AM13, the early Egyptians, the pre-Kerma people.
No, but here's the thing, though, King. The Kerma group was
pre-Kerma.
Really
pre-Kerma.
Yeah. Pre-Kerma group wasn't really Nakata. Again, these people were different. It was a war. It's an article called "Earliest Race War." You know about that, right? 13,000 years ago, right?
Yeah, man. My man D. Red be telling me about that. I know what you're talking about.
These niggas wasn't the same, God. Them Afro-Asiatics or those Somali-looking niggas went down there. I'm just using the Somali as an example, because I'm not saying Somalis did this. I'm talking about what these people really look like. And they were going against the Kodan group, who had more of the simple Nilotic features. There was issues going on amongst those groups of people. So I would say that the pre-Kerma group, even though they traded with Nakata, they wasn't really the same. They wasn't even really the same as Sudan. And Northern Sudan or Central Sudan, they wasn't the same people.
I've heard people say that ancient Egypt came from the south, right?
That's I'm gonna answer your question right now. No. See, that's what I'm saying. I never said. See, this is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not saying you said it. I'm not saying.
I hear a lot of that too.
Dr. Reggie said it. Come on, man.
Hold on, look. Let me
all right, go ahead.
Some components did come from the south, but a lot of it came from the south and then northern Sudan. But again, a lot of it came from the Sahara before reaching northern Sudan. And some of it even came from the Levant, from the Tufians. They came back in, and they merged together. That's what carried the kibit. It wasn't I come from the base of the Nile in Uganda and Tanzania. Nah, not like that, bro. It was Sahara. That shit dried up and pushed these dudes east. And then some of the people from the Levant, then the Tufians, they was trying to run from something. They found themselves back in North Africa. And these people were coming together to form something. Some components came from the south. But again, at this time, there was no such thing as Nubia. Nubia comes in when these niggas start raiding, taking gold. The term Nubia means gold.
We understand that. But we just talking about for location purposes, so we can know what the hell we talk about. We say the ancient name, nobody won't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I would say some components of it came through Nubia, or Northern Sudan. But again, even when they came to Northern Sudan, they wasn't even from there. They wasn't even from Northern Sudan. A lot of people went through Sudan. Sudan is like a crossroads zone. These people going in and out. So just like, for example, you brought up the article. The article is a beautiful article. Where the fuck did FM89 come from? FM89 shows that there was a wave of Eurasians that even had a hand in that. What's the name group? You see that? It's there.
Right.
So these people come from different directions. You got the ADA, you got the FM89 there, you got the YAC there, and we don't know if they got is a branch of E or independent DE or a branch of D. We don't know, but we know that YAC, the S associate protein is there. YAC positive is there, which what we have.
What's the highest percent? I brought that Sudan stuff up. I heard a lot, and we got a population, and we're saying they came from there. Then I would have to also infer that AM13. But besides that point, what would be percentage-wise? You're saying these other groups were here. This is a hypothesis. It's hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
What's percentage-wise these other FM89 lineages and then the A? What's the percentage-wise during this time, the Nakata period?
Well, when the Nakata period, based off of, hypothetically speaking, as you said, the Nakata period, a lot of those, that's not that long ago. It's longer than now. But look at the time period when Nakata exists. What's the time period, King?
About 5,000 years ago. 5,000, 6,000 years. Yeah.
So 6,000 years ago, those cats at that time in that part of Upper Egypt, not Sudan, those dudes were coming from those Sahara people, and those people were coming from those Natufian people linking back in. Those dudes is high. Think about it, they had to be highly EM78 because they wasn't the people that built the Pata Playa. These were different groups. Yet still they traded.
Man, I'm gonna tell Dr. Reggie or you, man. I'm gonna get Dr. Reggie said no, they ain't. He didn't say that, brother. He said they came from Nubia, bro, the south, man.
Well, the elder and the doctor got his way of looking at it. I mean, they come through Sudan. They come through. But these people are not from Sudan. They come through. So there's a lot of people that's been going in and out through Sudan. Sudan is a cross zone. You know what I'm saying? So they come through. So, Dr. Reggie, he has his way of looking at it. But if you understand it and you were aware of it, look at the cross route. Look at the timeline. Follow it. 5,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago, that's not that long ago. The Nakata period wasn't the same people as Napata Playa. Yet and still, some components of Napata Playa had a hand in Egypt as they go through Upper Egypt. They mingled. It wasn't homogenous at all, my brother. It wasn't.
Well, America is not homogenous, but majority of America would be European clay.
Majority of America are European, and that's why we know that majority of Nakata, or majority of the people that are now, were African. But Africa isn't homogenous; it's distinct. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not Africa. People spend so much time in Africa, going backwards and forward, and living there, you have multiple mutations there. So of course, most of the people in the Nile, from the lower part of the Nile near the Mediterranean or the Delta, going all the way south, they look different based off of the area. When you go into Ethiopia, they look one way. When you go all the way to Tanzania, Uganda, they look one way. When you go into Egypt, they look one way. You get what I'm saying? So they still were mainly African, but America is kind of a different story because these white boys came over here and slaughtered the indigenous people. And then they turned around and brought a lot of us over here after that, which was fucked up. So, of course, in Egypt or Nile Valley, you got a lot of stuff going on. It was violent in some cases, because I won't say it was Nirvana or peaceful. And in some cases, it was trade. Like when Narmer conquered Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt and unified, it wasn't that type of party that, like people saying, like here. No, if you control the Delta, you got ties to Asia or West Asia. Because Asiatics always been going in and out of that northern part of Africa for a long time. Even before the market trade between Mesopotamia and Nakata in the second half. You find those genetic components already going backwards and forth from the Mid East and North Africa for a long time. It's probably as long as 14,000 years ago. Think about that, bro.
Yeah, I heard you, man. But you haven't moved. You didn't move the AM-13 out of the way. That's my biggest stance.
AM-13 would make sense that it was in that area, in that part of Sudan, and we also understand it was a branch of AM. And look at the map and follow where A at. A is only south in South Africa, Cameroon, and that part of the Nile, the southern part of Sudan. The Sudan, which is in south of Egypt. You don't really find a lot of A's pushing into the northern parts of Africa. You don't. Think about it, King. You found a few Berbers in southern Morocco, but you don't really find a lot of A pushing in that northern part of Africa like you do with the E's that dominate.
Yeah, because we pushed them out. Like we displaced them brothers, man. That's how I look at it.
That's okay. I think that when we went south, we displaced. If you look at that 13,000-year-old race war, there was a beef going on. But I do know when E went south, we dominated over them because E wasn't in Cameroon the way it is now.
Right.
Before the Bantu speakers.
Give a time period. What we talking about when they pushing them?
Well, based off the article that we based off Cameroon, that was 8,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't there. So that East started pushing a lot of those. The Bantu expansion, according to studies.
So we talking 3,000 to 4,000 years ago then.
Around it makes it in Cameroon. It makes it in Cameroon probably about 5,500 years ago, and they had an expansion. Because the expansion they differ based off time. Some people say the expansion happened 5,000. Some people say it happened 4,000. But it was overpopulated because the term Bantu means people. That's all it means.
Mm-hmm.
These niggas started to overpopulate. So they overpopulated, started to expand out of Cameroon. Think about it, King. They expand out of Cameroon 3,000, 3,400 years ago, or I give you 4,000 years ago. But how long were they there before they expanded? We know they wasn't there 8,000 years ago because it was after. So
exactly.
So I say that these cats started to dominate Cameroon possibly 6,000 years ago before they expanded out.
Hold on, before we finish, man. You was on Garfield's show, and this dude was saying E1B1A was in sub-Saharan Africa, Western Sub-Saharan Africa, 10,000 years. That's what he said, bro. You ain't even step in or nothing, bro. You just gonna let him.
No. I said no. I don't know. I gotta listen to that when I was on Garfield's show. The brother said something about he was EM180, and I said that marker happened in the Green Sahara. I don't remember saying. I never said.
No, you didn't say it. Garfield sat there and said that. They was in Western Sub-Saharan Africa for 10,000 years.
I think Garfield was trying to say that they mutated in that area. I don't remember that, but
10,000 years ago.
No. But I was saying they were. I gotta listen to that show. I think the brother was saying he was EM180. No. What Garfield asked me was, see, this is the thing. Nigeria is a whole other part. Mali and Nigeria is a whole.
So is he violating the rules of scholarship?
Some would say it's not even scholarship.
Damn.
Those cats was living in the parks of northern Niger and Mali. those parts before, and even slightly going south before they go into Cameroon. They were spending more time in that Senegal Malian area way earlier than what they did in Cameroon. So of course they had subclades of E there, so they started to pierce down before going into Cameroon and then expanding out. You get what I'm saying?
I hear you. But the Green Sahara, a lot of people wouldn't travel too far deep into the Sahara or penetrate to the Sahel. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't have done that.
You had 3 phases of the Holocene Glacier period. And within those 3 phases, people were going backwards and forwards. So my thing is, going towards Mali, where you found the earliest Negroid skull called Asiller Man, ASS Ler, it's ASSLER man, in northern Mali, going south of Algeria, based off the prometheism that they had, the protruding jawline and the molar, phenotypically. That alone is 7,500 years old.
Gotcha.
Morphology alone. So going towards Mali, well, you also have people in Nigeria as early as 13,000 years ago.
No, I'm not saying people wasn't there. That's not what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. No, I'm saying, as far as the genome of the people in Nigeria, we don't know what that was.
Thank you. Thank you.
But what I'm saying is, or even the dude in Mali, that skull type 7,500 years old, we still don't know what he could have been, A or whatever. Because A.
Let me pause it. I said I wasn't gonna pause this. I wanted the recording and with the whole thing to, go through. But he pretty much just killed Garfield. Because Garfield is on Candy Cam saying that we were stuck here for 10,000 years in sub-Saharan Africa. And after that, he told Ngozi, you're being too honest. Garfield, man, some things you don't need to speak on. You belong in the toilet. And our brother Reggie has a message for that brother, man.
So I guess for the camera, Garfield just went into the bathroom so that he can get
information from Rabon and that squad.
So they
you belong in the toilet, bro.
So is he violating the rules of scholarship?
Some would say it's not even scholarship.
Damn.
Let's keep it going.
So he's in the toilet with Rob Bourne.
Garfield, man. Stay in your lane, bro. I don't even know what your lane is. I guess it's just to bash anything that deals with the Bible. I guess that's what your lane is. Let's get back to this recording. But Garfield, that E1B1A statement you made on Candy Cam with the brother Anonymous Hebrew is clearly false. Clearly false. We were not locked in sub-Saharan Africa. We were not locked there. The earliest DNA samples don't relate to us. You understand? We were above the Sahara. You understand? Even your mans knows that. Even he knows that. So you in the toilet. You are the toilet scholar, man. Into perpetuity, brother.
Was in a Green Sahara. But what I'm saying was, based off the article, the sickle cell development at a specific time period, a lot of those cats was lingering around that cup of the wet Sahara before going south and then going all the way south and killing all those people off or mixing with those people, dominating, and then making it into Cameroon and really dominating shit before having a later Bantu experience. So my motto is this: North Africa.
So before we came in there, like we've been saying here on the channel, showing you article after article, DNA after DNA, genomics, breaking down the Bantu expansion and so on and so forth. We were not there. We were not below the Sahel. We were not there. We was above it. We went down and penetrated and took over.
We spent a lot of time in North Africa, dominating sub-Saharan Africa. Some of these dudes leak out of North Africa, and some of these cats going to Europe, the Middle East. Some of these cats going to the Middle East and going to Europe and going to some parts of Asia and come back in, mixed up, going backwards and forward, and that's just what it is. That's just my model.
Okay, I mean, I don't have no problem with that. I don't.
That's my model. You know what I'm saying?
My problem is when people try to make these groups static and stagnant and trap them into certain areas for eons.
No, that's not science. No, that's not scientific.
Well, Garfield's not scientific then, because that's what I'm talking about.
No, Garfield is definitely scientific.
Got him!
Come on, bro. I just named what he did. and you said that's not scientific.
I know. I wasn't there. No, I have to listen to that show again. I think he was talking about mutation because I didn't even respond. I gotta listen to the show again.
The brother said that there's no way Anonymous Hebrew could be EM180 because it's too old. The brother told him that no, you're lying. You're not EM180.
Yeah, I remember Anonymous Hebrew. He definitely was EM180.
Come on, man, do pseudo.
No, I would call my brother pseudo, man. And I wouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is that Garfield, that's the bro. We all family. And talking to you now because I see that you're aware. Because you made a couple of shows about it. I'm thinking like that. He's just bummed, but it don't matter. I think it's all love. It's all education.
No, it's all about the information. There ain't no personal, nothing going on over here. Like with Garfield, it's about what come out of his mouth and the statements he makes. So then we criticize it. It ain't got nothing to do with personal beef or nothing like that, man.
Yeah, well, this is all information, and I think it's needed. And definitely, I gotta listen to that show again. But the brother Anonymous Hebrew definitely was EM180, which is very old, and that's part of those people in the Green Sahara or North. Definitely, that was amazing.
Brother said he was lying.
But you gotta really see. I'm EP252, which is E1B1A78, and according to what they say, that Marco, that subclade of E1B1A developed in Nigeria 7,000 years ago.
I understand that, but again, those
are what they say.
That's what they posit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I like to see something more concrete when we make it affirmatives. Now we can make a hypothesis all day. I don't care. But when people try to affirm something, all right, now I need to see something more concrete.
My motto though, Kane, is, and for me, he is indigenous to North Africa. It's not indigenous to Sub-Saharan, and it goes into Sub-Saharan and dominate. Some of it goes into the Levant. That's just how I look at it. Mixture been going on for a long time. I'm going to send you the article on the 13,000-year-old race war so you can see what was going on. Because those A's and shit got slaughtered. They got slaughtered in some cases. Not in every case, but in some cases.
Right, man. Is you teaching the other people on your side because they sound a little confused on this topic?
No, I don't. I mean, the people on my side, they aware. They got their own views of it. For Team Osiris, we aware. Brother Garfield's aware. He got their own views of it, man.
But okay, it's one thing having your own view, but it's another thing to be completely wrong about something, brother.
I wouldn't say that no one's completely wrong. We all going through the knowledge, man. You know what I'm saying? This is part of doing.
No, I'm not saying listen, this is what I'm saying. If we know that tulips is a certain color, right? And a brother say, no, it ain't. Or no, they actually burnt orange. No, bro, like you wrong. You wrong based off what we can observe.
Yeah, I gotta listen to that show. I'm gonna listen to that show again. But hey, look, you recorded me. I appreciate it. It started out hostile because I thought you was on bullshit, but I listened to you, my brother. We all good, and we gonna keep going, man. If you want me to come on your show, I don't got a problem coming on your show, bro.
Listen, you can come on my show and do a whole lecture, and I won't say nothing.
Okay, I didn't know that, bro, because this is the thing. I've been tricked on people's shows. The niggas that block me off and shit. You know what I'm saying? Only thing I heard, brother, which doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? They said that he half Mexican. Even though that don't matter. You're African. To me, it don't matter. You're a brother. Mexicans and people of color. I love Mexicans. They're indigenous. They're Native American and Mediterranean. So I don't got nothing.
Whoever told you that, listen, when people got to aim low, they ain't got nothing up top, bro. That's why whoever said, I don't know who said that. What that got to do with anything I'm saying?
Listen, brother.
Come on, brother.
You're still a brother. That don't matter. It's respect. I will come on your show, brother, and build. I just want you to hear my point of view of what I teach, because a lot of people they misunderstand me. You gotta listen to like my views is like I have my own way of dealing with this stuff scientifically, and I try to keep it in that scholastic field scientific. I don't like to take it out of that border. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I try to follow the chronology properly and timelines properly to make sense out of what's being said. So you hear my view, I'm sure you disagree with something, but that's my point of what, of what's being said. But you also agree with a lot as well. So I'm glad I talked to you.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing. Even in the video I made, I said, if he's saying this, I wasn't declaring what you were saying. I'm saying, if he's saying this is why I disagree with it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know who you talked to. Maybe it was Chris. I'm guessing it was Chris. I don't know. But maybe he got a little animosity and he trying to make you feel the same way he feel, transfer them.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
It's all love. There's no animosity. And Chris, all the brothers good. We want to keep it scholastic, man. And you keep doing your thing. You know, I'm listening to you. You are well. I'm listening to you. You read. That's why I say, man, is this brother manipulating this shit? Because I'm just listening to him. I know he know what, you know what I'm saying? But now I heard you out, and it's cool. But there is a lot of manipulation on both sides, bro. People manipulating information on the Egyptian side and the Hebrew side, bro. That's just what it is.
Man, I wouldn't call. Listen, if you don't call it manipulation, I just think it comes from a lack of study and people not knowing what the hell they talking about, and then they come off as somebody thinking they manipulate. They just ain't studied.
This is my thing, King. Half of Nigeria is E1B1A. You know that. Half of Mali, most of Mali. No, I don't want to even say half. Most of Nigeria is E1B1A. Most of Mali is E1B1A. Most Senegal is E1B1A. My whole thing is, for some Hebrews to say that was the only marker amongst the Hebrews, and they disregard, and they say that African is something separate, and most of these niggas in Nigeria is E1B1A, that don't even make sense if you want to base off haplogroup. You know, my thing about the original Hebrews is it's like what the scriptures say, they were a mixed multitude. They didn't have one specific line. There's no bloodline or lineage to be a Hebrew. I mean, when I think about these people, you find some E, some J, some T, some G. Those were the people that made up for what it was. And we understand that Israel, the western part, is on the African plate tectonic, or the African-Syrian rift, and the eastern part is something totally different. Then we understand the people in northern Israel, they were distinct from the people in southern Israel. Then we got the article on the blue eyes and light skin in northern Israel. That was what, 6,500 years ago? And then you got another. So what I'm saying is it wasn't one look to that Levant area ever after the Natufians.
I never said that. I never said that. But what I will say, if we looking for a single line and it's part of the sun transmission, like the Bible says, then it would have to be a Y chromosome that those people go back to. Of course, it's going to be punitive because we're not omniscient, and I don't own a time machine. I can't go back to that time. So we just have to put together what we got to come up with a conclusion. Some people don't even believe these people exist. If you don't believe it exists, then I don't understand why we should be arguing it. But if it is true, then those people that existed before would have to share a Y chromosome if they go back to these people, Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's my argument for that. If you don't believe they don't exist, hey, that's on you. You don't believe. But if they did exist, damn it, they got a Y chromosome. That's all. You there? You hung up.
I'm right here, brother. Yes, I'm right here.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna let you go, man.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, every year, you know, we shouldn't argue if we don't understand. But my thing is just understanding the people. Because my thing is, you know, Israelites were not. Okay. Sorry.
They were not homogenous. What you about to say? We understand that.
Yeah, they wasn't homogenous, and also they wasn't white. I don't believe that they were white. I think some of they look different. They had different looks. This is after the Bronze Age. After the Bronze Age, he had all types of stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? But for some Hebrews to say, "Oh, E1B1A is a definite mark," thank you. It's a definite marker but only the Hebrews and it's not for the Africans. That don't make sense because most of Nigeria is still E1B1A. You know what I'm saying?
Got you. And I don't disagree with that. You know what I'm saying? So
I think following the Most High, for those who follow the Most High, again, I'm a Muslim, and if you follow the Most High, that's what's important. It's not about the idea of a race. We know that the race that's responsible for all the anarchy and chaos on the planet, if you want to base things off that, even though ultimately we're human, but we know who's the most irresponsible group of people on the planet that's causing havoc on everybody. But what I'm saying is that to be a devout follower of the Most High or to serve Him, it isn't about a specific lineage on any part. You know what I'm saying? Egypt been mixed. The Near Eastern part of Levant, they've been mixed up. So that's what I'm saying. It's bias on both ends, on the Egyptian end and the Hebrew end. You know?
Yeah, I hear you, man, but I differ on the lineage part because, again, if the literature I read is saying point out a particular lineage there, it is important to the doctrine. But other than that, man, on a lot of points we do agree on. I guess those.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that let me ask you first. Do you think that the priestly lineage was a literal lineage, or do you think that it was multiple groups that made up the Aaron? Because I don't like the J1C3 shit talking about the Aaron model. We don't want to buy that. But do you honestly believe that the actual priestly gene or lineage, the priestly lineage, was one specific claim? You don't think it was based off the devout followers that was responsible for the faith in the first place?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that. I don't think that. If we talking about Levites, I don't think that. If the story is true, say if, right? They would have to. They have to descend from that man Levi, which means they would all have to share the same Y chromosome at least. I don't know how anybody interpret that any other way, unless you're saying the story bullshit. Then okay, that's another thing. But if we go according to the narrative, that will be the case.
But you don't think that the Hebrew or the authors were writing, the priests were writing in a symbolic sense, based off like Levi? You don't think that Levi was how can I explain it? It wasn't one group of people. Like how can I explain? It's hard to explain. You don't think it was metaphorically? You think it was one individual?
No, I think that this came from a small clan that of different males. Jacob may have had 12 sons, but my point is this: if he had those 12 sons, we expect to see that these people that descend from these 12 sons share the same Y chromosome. So no, I don't think it's metaphorical. I think it's a telling of history. It might have mythos in it, intertwined in it, but the core elements of the history is still there. You got these men that had children that were designated these offices at first, initially.
Let me ask you this. You being an Israelite, my brother, do you identify as African? Do you think an African can be an Israelite?
Yes.
Oh, well, it's much love to you then. As long as they ain't disregarding the continent, we good. Because a lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand that. It's love. Because you got different camps. Some Israelites can't stand African. You know, and I don't understand that.
Man, I can't speak for them because I'm not them. But from my perspective, it ain't even about the title. It's about, like I said, what we just discussed. We had a whole hour discussion on this.
Yes, sir.
Where our Y chromosome come from and who we. That's that part right there. You know what I'm saying? So they can be in Japan. If they E1B1A, I'm claiming them. You know what I'm saying? If they E1B1B, I'm claiming them.
That's real. That's real. That's real, bro. And that's how I see it. All of us are part of that larger Yap family. The super E family, as you want to say it. And yes, that's how I feel. If it's as long as they carry that E, they're my brothers. That's how I look at it. So that's 100. And you know, like 4% of Ashkenazi Jews got E1B1A too.
Yeah, I do. And I brought that up on my channel. Yeah, man, I know. So I'm not the one to say, well, all of them is bogus. Nah, I know it's a few that's E1B1B, M35, and stuff of that nature. I claim them.
And that's the right way to do it. It's not a skin color thing. It's not anything with the people in Egypt. They've been mixed up. Some of them cats was light skinned. You know, those Neolithic farmers brought that SLC245 mutation into Egypt and the Anatolia 7,000 years ago.
Right.
So the modern people that you find in Egypt, I wouldn't call them Arabs. They're Egyptian.
I agree, and I've been saying just because the way they look, the Berbers too. The Berbers get that same thing. They say, "Oh, they white people." But,
no, they are brothers.
Right.
They are brothers. That's right. See, man. See, we can vent. Albert Einstein. That's our brother.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, your boy Hitler too.
Adolf Hitler, yeah. What's the explorer name? I can't think of his damn name right now. Not Leopold. I can't think of his name, man. But he got E as well.
Absolutely.
The French explorer. I can't think of his name.
You talking about Napoleon?
Was it Napoleon that got E?
I think somebody did say he was E.
Let me look at Napoleon. Yeah, man. So I ain't gonna hold you up, man.
It was a nice bill. Like I said, it started out hostile. I just want the world to know that I can talk to this brother. You know, as long as we able to build. Because I thought, bro, I honestly thought you was just on some setup shit, man. Because that's what people do. Come on my show. Then when you start talking, they block you and shit. I'm like, oh, hell no.
Man, anybody come on my show opposing view, they don't gotta agree with me, and I'll let you get a whole hour, 2-hour lecture, and I won't say nothing.
That's powerful. That's powerful. But I thank you. I hope you recorded it. And man, we good. But yeah, that's my motto. You know, that's how I deal with it. Again, they got a lot of stuff they got to discover, my brother, before they're able to say who's who. But based off the findings, the Nakata and the people that built what's the name? They wasn't the same people. Even though they were both part of the Nile, they wasn't the same people. Even though they traded with each other, they all played a role in the development of the ideal culture that formed there.
Okay. Hey,
let me just say this. Let me just say this before I go.
All right.
But it's one thing that also shows that they kind of was related to the Nakata in some component. And you know what that is?
Nope. What was it?
That yacht marker, that DE. Because we don't know if that was D or a branch of E. Which showed that they couldn't, because yacht is what E and D is.
Right.
And that was there. That was there. And that answers your question. You said, what fossils or what do we have to show that we were there in the now? That yacht marker. Don't you think so?
I have to go back and look at it, man. I gotta go back and look at it.
Yeah.
Because the paper I read said those F and those D later just came later, like the Moronic period.
Yeah. But it was Ada. It was a yacht, but no, I think it said before. I gotta read the article too, but I think it was before that. But that yacht marker was there, bro.
I'll go back and reanalyze and make sure I ain't making a mistake, man. But if it say it, then listen, I'm all about empirical reality. So if it say it, then I'm gonna roll with it.
Man, peace and love to you, King.
All right, brother.
I'm gonna come up whenever you let me on. We can build.
All right, brother. Peace.
All right, peace, King.
All right. So that was the conversation, man. That was the conversation we had about an hour and a half. I want to share with you guys. Like I said, it started off with a lot of friction, you know what I'm saying? But it calmed down, and as y'all can see, I let this brother speak. I let this brother get his points out. I let this brother, you know what I'm saying? I didn't run this brother, through the ringer. I didn't do what Garfield them do on their channel. I let the brother get his points across. I want to have an actual dialogue conversation with these guys. I'm not afraid of information like those other guys are. You know what I'm saying? So, the brother said he's willing to come on the channel. So can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to that. And we'll go from there. Yeah, he keeps saying A haplogroup. My point of bringing the A haplogroup, you're right, Chemo. Those ain't our people. But those were those early. Well, we have the samples of early pre-Kerma population, and we don't have any early E haplogroups. A lot what he was bringing out was people's hypothesis and what they posit took place. And I was asking for something more concrete, something like a specimen that we can draw their DNA from and say, okay, yes, we did have EM78 in northern Egypt. We don't have it. We have AM13 in northern Sudan, which were along the Nile. And we can infer, because we actually have something to infer with, that these people were the original Egyptian population. You understand? And that's what brought this whole dialogue about, was that. You know what I'm saying? Anything else is just a battle of words, but we do have plenty of samples from the Sudanese Museum. They drew the DNA from a Mutesa as a Sudanese geneticist, and they tested it. Majority of those samples were AM13. So majority of these ancient Egyptian people, from this Nakata period, pre-Kerma period, it's safe to surmise that that's what their haplogroup would have been. And that was my argument with the brother the whole time, bringing up the Sahara, the Green Sahara, when it shrunk, these people would have left, migrated to the Nile, to survive. And we have their DNA. We have their data. So during this time, where's E? And, I brought up in the conversation, we see a lot of E1, B1A in places where you guys are not even speaking about. When I say you guys, people that's subconscious community, African, whatever you want to call them, Kemet, We see it in France. We see it in Corsica, right outside of Italy. We see it in the BMAC complex or culture, which is around Iran, right? We see it everywhere else, but we don't see it. We don't see our ancestors, the E1B1A, in Northern Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa. But we see it in these other areas. So I told her, I said, don't you think that's odd when a lot of our people have been taught that we were pretty much landlocked in Africa or associated with Africa, and we discussed the Bantu expansion. That happened much more recently within, most scholars say 3,000, 3,500 years ago. That's not that far in time. That's when we started spreading and trekking into Sub-Saharan Africa and penetrating these areas and dominating places like Cameroon, Nigeria, so on and so forth. You understand? So that was, basically the gist of the conversation. Shalom to Zion Lex. Muck said, I don't think Ngozi understands that the man you descend from determines your race, not the land you live in. I wouldn't say that about him, but what I would say is he does put a lot of emphasis on the continent of Africa. I put a lot of emphasis on our people and our ancestors and the blood that goes through our veins. You understand? I made that clear to him during the conversation. A lot of people are more about territorial, and I'm more about, hey, where my people are and who are my people. They can be in Japan. That's my people. You know what I'm saying? They can be in France. They can be in Northern Europe. They can be in Scandinavia. Those are my people. They have people with our DNA in Russia. You understand? That was the point. All this continent. Listen, continents are sterile. Continents don't have children. Continents don't have pedigrees. Countries don't have pedigrees. They don't have descendants. People do. So where are these people? Where are my ancestors? Can we trace these people? And that's the question. That's why we study genomic data. That's why we study it. You understand? And through my studies and the information that I came across, I don't see no E1B1A or E1B1B in the Nakata period of ancient Egypt. I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? I don't see it. We can infer and make assumptions all day. And then he mentioned Israel. We do see E1B1A associated with the Iron 2A period, which is a known Israelite period in the Levant, because they did the DNA, Morjani did the DNA study that traced the admixture of the African admixture amongst the 8 ethnic distinct Jewish groups. And they showed that our DNA dates back to that period because they used the Yoruba as a source sample. The Yoruba majority are E1B1A. So that would put us in that proximity in that land during the time of the Israelite, the Israelite period, Iron 2A period. And that's when we're starting to see a lot of the material culture. We're seeing the 7-spotted lamp. We're seeing the stone cut altars during this time. So we know when the Israelites occupied that land, and our people are connected to that. And that's according to the Morjani paper. But you can't do the same for Egypt. Yeah, Ramesses, we're related to Ramesses. The Ramesside Empire is E1B1A. We're related to them. Matter of fact, let me put the anybody want to get on, y'all can get on. I'm gonna open the lines. I'm gonna let everybody on. I see Zion in the back. If you want to get on, he can get on. And Ngozi, you can get on. Anybody free to get on, man. So what I'm trying to base this off of as empirical reality, he said Hiscos do not match with Bantus. Do you have, okay, so brother, if you can get on, maybe you can explain what you meant by that, because do you have any Hisco samples that we can, compare and contrast to make that statement? Because I'm not even saying the Hiscos are Israelites. I'm not saying it, but we do know they're Asiatic. So if you get on and explain that and clarify that for me, then we can move on that point. But my point is here you go, right here, real fast, like lightning.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Ngozi. Yeah, somebody said Hyksos. That's what I'm saying, bro. You see the type of mind a lot of these people got. You can't say Hyksos match with, but I'm not saying whoever said that.
Hyksos don't need the timeline and the chronology of Bantu and Hyksos is false and the distance is false. They just put the article out recently about the Hyksos, and somebody said, Zion said, I got a bad voice. What does my voice matter? We men. Men don't worry about another man's voice. If that's what he said, that's some goofy shit. Anyway, all I'm saying is that what I'm trying to say is that the chronology, the timeline, how could you Bantu with a Hyksos? Where do you get that from? That don't even make sense.
Well, who's
So that's
making
why
that
I
claim?
asked you. Somebody in the chat. I just got back on because I'm at the gig. That Amir Black is me. The picture with me and my wife. That's me. I'm just trying to
Right.
figure out who can come up with that conclusion and say Hyksos and Bantus is the same and saying Ngozi don't understand, and then they don't even know what I understand. That's how biased the community is on both sides. They
No,
saying
I
I don't.
think he said this.
Mhm.
You talking about this comment here? He says, "I don't think Ngozi understands that the man you descend from determines your race."
No, not that one. Not that one. It's another one. It's another one.
I think this is what you're talking about. My problem with Ngozi is he don't match the genetics with the history. Another example is that the Amu and the Hyksos history match with the Bantu expansion.
You know what I'm saying? They so caught up in the Near East and they disregard people being homegrown or indigenous to. That's how disgusted people are with Africa. They can't be African alone. They got to be affiliated with some crap in the Near East in some type of way. That don't make sense.
But hold on, brother. I gotta dispute you on that claim about being affiliated with a cracker.
No, I didn't say crap. Who said that?
Oh, my bad. I misunderstood you. But I will say this about the Bantus. How did they get bananas? How did they get watermelon, chia seeds,
Perfect.
and stuff of that nature?
They traded They traded with population. It's been a trade route in Western Central Africa for a long time, especially in Chad. So if you got the Bimelikes, which is of course near Chad, and other people, these people are trading. It's just like when you see a stela in Egypt, where you find I think it's where Amos conquered and kicked the Hyksos out, and you see a lot of foreigners coming out. You see men with giraffes, you see men with gold, you see the people that was in Crete area coming up, the Athenians. It was more than one group of people coming up. Now, if you look at some of them black men, some people that pseudo will say all those were Nubians. All those people don't come from Sudan. Some of the people came from Chad. There's even proof of voyage of people like Mantu Hotel going through Chad for trade.
Hold on. Clarify who you talking about. You said some people say they all came from Nubia. Who you talking about?
No, I'm talking about anybody. Because anybody think that just because you see a black person or a dark-skinned person, that equates to Nubian. Even in Nubia, it wasn't like that. The one part was Nehesi. The other part, you have the population of Tasseti. Some groups spoke Afro-Asiatic, which is the Cushitic branch of Afro-Asiatic. Others spoke Nilo-Saharan or Nilotic. The Meroitic language or the modern Nubian language is more closer to Nilotic languages than it is to Afro-Asiatic. The Bija of Northern Sudan speak Afro-Asiatic, which is Northern Cushitic. So what I'm saying is that just because we see a brown-skinned person or a black person, that doesn't always equate to Nubian. And that's the racist narrative that we picked up on from Europeans. That's sick. Just because you see a brown-skinned person or a black person doesn't mean Nubian. And just because you see a dark-skinned person or a black person doesn't always mean African. You had Asiatics who was just as darker than me. But that doesn't mean that they were African genetically. Even though also, you know what I'm saying? So that's the biasness and the racist narrative that everybody has when it comes to dark or brown skin. That's my problem.
I believe the same thing, man. I talk about that on my show all the time. Phenotype, can't judge people solely on phenotype.
No.
But my question is, what are you saying about the Hyksos? What, you just responded to what that brother said, or
So I'm responding to what he said, because my thing is, if you look at the Hyksos, there's an article where they found out that the Hyksos didn't invade like they said they did, like a lot of our historians told us, or the Afrocentric community said.
Right. They were there. They pretty much dominated something like what they say the Asians is trying to do in Canada. And
right.
I understand.
They grew in numbers. They came in peacefully in the 12th dynasty. They grew in numbers in the 15th dynasty and took over, and then they got kicked out in the 18th dynasty. But we have to look at the Hyksos, which only means foreign rulers. Because at one time, Nubians or people of Sudan was called Hakasasu at one time. If we really, and I think that was in the 6th dynasty. That doesn't always equate to people or the Amu or the Easterners. So we got to look at something. Egyptians always had ties with people in Canaan. But think about this, because we all thinkers. Look at the tools that they had that was distinct from the earlier Canaanites. One thing that the last wave of Hyksos had was chariots. Where does a chariot come from? They had chariots. Why wasn't it there in the earlier phase of the earlier Asiatics? That lets you know these people had ties with the Hurrians that was near Anatolia,
Right, they were the
who had
first
ties
ones.
with people near the Black Sea. Where do you find the oldest chariots at? And I'm about the Sumerian chariots that was wagons that helped them deal with their animals. I'm talking about the earliest chariots that was used as war strategies or horsemen coming from that Black Sea area. So you can see what's going on. So the Hyksos isn't one group of people or one group of Asiatics or even Northeast Africans, because Africans were in Canaan as well.
Yeah, but my question would be, we understand all that. That's fine. That history is fine. So when the Hyksos came in, and you're bringing up this Asiatic introgression that happened even prior to the time of the Hyksos, right? Why don't the Kemetic community or the conscious community speak on that history more? Why is that not mentioned?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's a biasness on both halves between the Afrocentric community and even the Hebrew community. They're not dealing with this stuff realistically. These people were breeding. These people were trading. I don't know why, but it is what it is.
Hey, a brother right now, he says, let me read this comment. Black Line Supreme. This is probably one of your brothers, right? The brother said, according to the Outer Africa theory, all human life started in Africa. So it's no great surprise to see our DNA in our enemies. What is he talking about? Enemies.
I mean, ultimately, all Homo sapiens is African, regardless of what mutations they develop outside of Africa. Even the people that they call non-Africans are descendants of Northeast Africans. Hell, anything out the CT can be labeled as Eurasian. Anything out the CT M168, you know that. What's the brother of DE? CF. Am I right?
You're correct.
So what I'm saying is that it's based off how people choose to see it, but ultimately, as a species, we all African, regardless of what people look like. All Africans aren't going to be sub-Saharan black like Wesley Snipes or a Nilotic that's letting cows piss in his head. Everybody don't look like that.
Yeah, that practice comes from India, right? The what's that called? The cow blowing.
I mean, they've been doing that. A lot of Nilotics, when the pastoralists, like my people, the Fulani, they come from Dikla Oasis, and then they travel through the Sahel, as I said, or they're cow people. The oldest deity for the Fula is a deity named Jinno. You find these early pastoralists also in pre-Sahara, like the early Black Mummy, the Black Libyan Mummy. These were cattle coats. But then when they took it south amongst the Nilotics, they started borrowing those customs, thinking that the urine is the fountain of youth. They let the cow piss in their head and let their hair turn colors. That's an old pastoralist thing, man. You know what I'm saying? And people in India did it too. Yes, they did, because the cow was sacred. Cattle coats.
Right. Are you claiming those people, man?
No. I'm a book full of.
I'm messing with you, bro. I'm messing with you. I know you're not. But you got a lot of people that's in the conscious community that claim Africa, like I said, like it's a uniform entity.
No.
Everybody in Africa is us, or we come from them. You know what I'm saying?
No. Let's base it off linguistics. Okay, linguistically.
You still there? Hey, in the chat, let me know if y'all can hear him, man, because I think I just lost him.
I'm sorry?
Oh, you broke up for a minute. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Within the language family in Africa, this shows the diversity. You have 4 major language families of Africa, but according to the consensus. You have Afro-Asiatic, Nilo-Saharan, Niger-Congo, and Khoisan. Khoisan is the click language. Within Afro-Asiatic, you have some stratums of Semitic or Shemitic, if you want to say Shem, or Semitic that came back in. And that's Eritrean languages, Habesha language, the northern Ethiopian languages falls more in line with the Semitic stratum, which
Amadic,
Amadic. You have Omo, which is Amadic is more of the older cluster of Afro-Asiatic. Then you have Omatic. Then you have Oromo. Oromo is more Cushitic. And then you have the Habesha language, or Giz, which is what they call Ethio-Semitic. So you have Shemites that played a role of Semitic speakers who was lingering from Ethiopia to the Arabian Peninsula to the Levant, going backwards and forth for a long time. So we can't say Africa is exclusively only for the Nilotic type of African. That's racist. You have diversity. You have diversity going on in Africa. You have back migrations. You have people that spent time to develop multiple subclades and multiple mutations. Africa is diverse as hell. It doesn't actually belong to one group solely. That doesn't make sense.
I think you better be careful what you say, man, because some of your folks is in the comment.
No, but think about this. Even with some of the Amazon or the Berbers, who were the actual originally Africans of Tunisia before Scipio Africanus invaded. Let's say what these people look like, the actual Afri or Ataga. The people of Tunisia or Hannibal, the Phoenicians are the Semitic speaking people. They came in and what? And with Ditobel in like 600 BC, they come in and conquer the Amazon that was there. Now you got to get into who were the people of Tunisia at this time. Guess what? They have a stratum or a piece of them that was partially indigenous to the Canaan area, because some of these people leaked back into the continent. Phoenicians, the Bell Beaker groups. So what did the actual Africans look like in Tunisia? They would have looked like Rick Fox. Hannibal looked like Rick Fox. He didn't look like Wesley Snipes.
What about the Tomahawk? Because your boy always mentioned the Tomahawk, the Libyans. I lost. Oh, there you go. What about the Tomahawk? Can you hear me? Ngozi.
Yo, could you hear me?
I can hear you now, but my question was, what about the Tomahawk? Because you got a guy on the internet going around saying that the Tomahawk is the European.
No, that's not true. The Tomahawk, you had look in Libya, that's not true. Here's the thing. In Libya,
yeah,
you had the Tahinu and the Tomahawk. Those are all Berber tribes.
Right.
And they wasn't or we call Amazon. They wasn't European. They were light skinned, and some of them were brown. Some of them were brown.
You killing Jabari right now, man. Calm down. You killing.
Oh no, I ain't listen. That brother got his own way of looking at it. I'm just saying.
No, we can't. No, we not doing that, bro.
All I'm saying is Tomahawk doesn't mean white people. That's
pseudo. European.
No, it doesn't mean white people. That's pseudo.
Damn,
no.
Man. I'm
not trying to kill. No, I'm not trying to. I'm just saying that that argument is an old argument that a lot of people use for years. That doesn't make sense. The Tomahawk are the Amazon. They're the Berbers, and Berbers can look at, like, for example, the Garamantes. Did you look at the skulls that they said that the Garamantes look like? Did you see what they said they look like?
Did they say Caucasoid?
No, they said one group was Mediterranean, the other one group fits more of a sub-Saharan African. They had different phenotypes. So one group.
I've been harping on that, but I'm just bringing this stuff to you because a lot of these cats, I've been hearing this for years. The Tomahawk, you got that from the Tomahawk, the white European man.
I wouldn't call a Berber or Amazon, regardless of him being light or dark, I wouldn't call those people European. That doesn't make sense.
You say that's pseudo. I agree. Yes. I agree, man.
It's just like all the dark-skinned people that you find on the hieroglyphs aren't Nubian. That's racist. Or you see, like, for example, Nubians being chained up, given to the Egyptians, and then you got
yeah, they do that. So the ones that's sitting on the ground as slaves, they say they're Nubians, and the Egyptians will be a different race or whatnot.
Right, but they don't tell you that it's a middle group there that was working for the Egyptians called the Magi, who the Egyptians employed in their military, who was giving away.
Right.
They were all from Sudan, but they all wasn't Nubians.
Right.
So you had the Bija type giving away people that were more of the Nilotic type. And you get what I'm saying? You can look at the phenotype. So it was always a difference in Sudan. Everybody isn't Nubian or from the zone of gold, Nub, which means gold. It's different situations going on. Just like in Kermer, those people are different from Tasseti. If you really look at the timeline, even though they're all partially related, they're not all the same. Sudan is, what's the three biggest countries in Africa? One of the largest population groups in Africa is Nigeria. Algeria is the largest country. Nigeria has the largest population, and Sudan used to be before they split between Northern Sudan and Southern Sudan. So there's never one group of people there.
I agree. I think that can be said about any other place on the planet that with a meta population.
Yeah. So, I mean, we just got to make sense out of this stuff, man. That's all. I mean, it ain't even no argument. But like I say, the Kemetic community has biased views. The Hebrews do too. But if you're dealing with it for real, without being biased, let's talk about the human story for real, yo.
All right, I got okay, this one right here. The Hyksos. You saying the Hyksos, yay or nay? Are they our people? Are they related to us?
The Hyksos were different people. Some of them were from the Near East. Some of them was on from Canaan. Some of them had African ancestry. Some of them didn't.
Okay.
It only means foreign ruler. So it depends on what fragment group you're talking about.
You're right. Okay, so that's the Middle Kingdom. Okay, then we go to the 18th dynasty.
Now, when it comes to the 18th dynasty, those people were King Tut. And first of all, Tutmosis that came into the 18th dynasty wasn't from the lineage that gave rise to that R1B-VA8 that King Tut had, or R1B1A2. Even a mitochondrial DNA was foreign, and it comes from the Mitanni people. They had mitochondrial DNA K. That mitochondrial DNA K comes from those Mitanni people that they was trading with. But autosomally speaking, if you look at the old DNA tribes, that they did have a signature, even though they only use 7 loci. That doesn't determine who you are overall, but they did have some sub-Saharan components, but they wasn't overall. These were a highly mixed people. So in 18th dynasty, in our monozone, they definitely wasn't, the first wave of population that was in Kemet, or people, that doesn't make sense.
The African Americans relate to the 18th dynasty? Pharaohs, the Pharaonic. You're just dealing with the Pharaohs.
No.
So why is African American? Why can I find so many African Americans on YouTube, social media claiming King Tut as an ancestor?
I think they do that because overall he was an African, but he's not genetically related to us overall. I mean, I'm sure autosomally he has a signature that's close, but if you deal with his affinities, his similarities, he's linked more closer to people in the Near East than he would to people in Nigeria.
Right. I'm just referring to people. I'm just referring to his male line because I got cousins that's autosomally 60-70%.
And they R1B. No.
They EN180. EN180, 70% European.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question, my brother. Is that on your Mexican side or your African American side? I mean, if you want to use those terms.
To be honest, I don't know. I found this out on 23andMe. And they give, you probably been on the website.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been on 23andMe, but they give you all your DNA relatives, and I'm looking at the composition.
Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. You have Puerto Ricans, right, who are 70% Mediterranean European, but they got E1B1A. What does that mean? You have Europeans that live in Texas that's 90% European, but they got E1B1A. What does that mean? That means that somewhere down the line, one of their great-great-grandfathers was an African that kept mixing with white people somewhere down the line, autosomally increasing the European genes, but maintaining that Y chromosome, that paternal marker.
Exactly.
So that's all. That happens. This is like you got African Americans who 90% African, but they're paternally R1B M269. And if you go down and date the ancestral line, they go back to British man. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's my point with these pharaohs. Like, if you're claiming them as direct ancestors, they not, because they got this foreign or European clades. And if that's true, okay, the Middle Kingdom, you're saying, is diverse. We don't really know. I know we do got the 2 priests, and they're saying that their haplogroup, what was it, K?
Their mitochondrial DNA was K. But
they did sequence their Y chromosome. I'm trying to remember what
you talking about the 2 brothers?
Yeah, I think they used to call TK2, right?
Yeah. They definitely had T there because even in the Dan tribe, the Dan clan in Somalia, they're highly T, but most Somalians are E1B1B in the form of EV32, which is EM78. But within the Dan clan, which makes up 10%, within that 10%, when you go deeper, at 90% of the Da'an, they're T. And T also has been backwards and forth in Africa. We got to remember, the pre-pottery Neolithic A and B group, they were already highly E1B1B, but then they went into the Middle East. They got absorbed with a few T's, and some of these people came back a long time ago. So you definitely had T. Some of them pharaohs definitely was T. Just like some Somalians, that's dark as space, is haplogroup T. Some Fulani is dark as space, is haplogroup T. Look at the Hausa man. Hausa man is overall autosomally more closer than Nilotics, 90%. But their paternal marker go back to an early Neolithic European, R1B, VA8. They even got a lot of Fulani, like I can drink milk because I got the lactase consistent gene, which is the LCT gene. Where did we pick that trait up from? I can drink milk without catching bloat or diarrhea. Where did we get that from? We got that from an early wave of Neolithic Europeans that brought it to us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it gets.
So, you back in. But what I'm saying is, okay, the Middle Kingdom, we see T, possibly T. That's what they're saying. We see R in the 18th dynasty. I mean, how many years we got? Like, we going all the way from the second millennium BCE to the first millennium BCE. We finally see E1, B1A, but we see it in Ramesses. We don't see it in the 18th dynasty pharaohs. We don't see it in the Middle Kingdom, at least not yet. So these people that's claiming ancient Egypt, where are they putting themselves?
Well, that's a trick. That's just like with the Hebrews. The Hebrews never had one direct paternal lineage. You know what I'm saying? It depends on timeline and distance and area. So, for example, Ramesses III is related to Ramesses II through his great-granddaughter. His father was Sennacherib. Meneptah had a daughter, which is Ramesses II's son, who gave birth to a daughter. That Sennacherib came in. He used to be an employee in the military. He came in and married into the lineage mitochondria. So even though Ramesses III was E1, B1A, I'm sure his mitochondrial DNA was probably H or U6. So what I'm saying is that E1, B1A, even though it was a small percentages and none of us have proof, it was also lingering around that Nile as well. So
I know,
you had,
but the time frame. My problem is, I agree with that, but these people that's claiming this Egyptian history and saying our ancestors and Ashe and all this other stuff, you know, they incorporating all the West African ideas into the Egyptian ideas. They're saying that these are our ancestors, but when we look at it, 18th dynasty, we can scratch it off the list. And the Middle Kingdom is a big question mark there. We don't see it until Ramesses.
yeah.
So how can we claim an Egyptian legacy?
For me, even though I know the Egyptians aren't us directly and we're distant relatives, I look at them as overall just because they're African. Because I'm a Pan-African. Like, even though I don't push Egypt, I rep Mali, I rep my ancestors, my Pulaar, Mandinka, Ouagadougou. I rep that. I rep West Africa, West and Central Africa. But what I'm saying is that because Egypt is part of classical African civilization, I embrace that and I look at it from that perspective. And yes, I do tell everybody to us directly, you know. But we had a hand in most of the history there because E1B1A is an old Saharid marker. And we know that E1B1A went in multiple directions, just like E1B1B and also that R1B. Even though its origins is in Southern Europe, it played a role with cultivating certain customs in the Sahara with the Kefians and the Tenarians and all that. So I don't know how they look at it, but I look at it just because it's Africa. Regardless of them being me directly, those people are still African. Even the modern Egyptians, regardless of what they look like, those people are African. They're not Arabs. They've been Arabized. Some of them have Arab ancestry and autosomally, but a lot of that foreign Eurasian markers, Eurasian DNA, it's been there for a long time. You know, those people still Africans.
So you accept the Limba?
Yeah, I accept the Limba. The Limba, yes. Even though the Limba, the Buba clan got J1C3 and some T, they're still African. It doesn't matter what their haplogroups is a small percentage of your DNA. That doesn't determine who you are, you know. So it's about the mentality. It's about the landmass. The Limba are Africans. Yes, they're my brothers. The Limba, the Fulashas, the Ethiopians, the Yoruba, the Igbos. All these people, they're Africans, and even west of Israel. Because guess what? Israel sits on two plate tectonics: the African-Syrian Rift west, and the eastern part is part of the Arabian Peninsula. So why wouldn't you deal with that regardless of what the people look like? We're talking about it from a real scientific perspective.
Yeah, and if we are dealing with a real scientific perspective, once someone claims that these are my ancestors, scientifically that's not true. They're not your ancestors. They're not. When I say they, T, J, A, B, R, no, majority of African American males are
Western Central African. Yes,
EM2.
We're Western Central. Yes, we're EM2. Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean,
and a lot of the dynasties, I'll say a lot of the rulers, because I don't know what the citizens was, but I'm sure E1B1A was there. But a lot of the rulers didn't relate to us genetically. They wasn't. They had a distinct. Even North Africa.
Oh snap!
even North Africa has a cluster that's distinct from sub-Saharan Africa. We have to understand that, because when you get us, we represent a hybrid as well. A hybrid that went from north to south and mixed with archaic populations that was already down there. So now we have a unique cluster. And then the Northern Africans have a unique cluster. But they're all Africans, even though we're distinct. That's the beauty of Africa. That's diversity. So yes, I agree. We shouldn't claim all dynasties like that's you. That doesn't make sense. Even though I believe that King Tut was a bronze, brown-skinned person. He just was hiding near Eastern. But he did have some sub-Saharan in him, autosomally, like most Egyptians do to this day.
Yeah, but do American males come? Do they share? Because when I did my 23andMe DNA test,
we share paternal marker with Ramesses III. Yes, that's true. We do.
Right.
Yeah.
So
in the early Sahara, yes.
Thing about King? Can we say an African American male?
We can't say that about King Tut. No, he's R1B 1A2. No. But he still was an African because the Hausa got it and they African. They got the same marker. But no, we're not related to Tut. If you look at the haplogroup paternally, no.
All right, so let's go down the list. The Tamahu is not the white European.
No, Tamahu does not mean it doesn't mean white people. No.
And majority of African American Negro, American males, however you want to call them, classify, are not related to King Tut.
No, not paternally. No, hell no, not maternally or paternally. No, he was mtDNHK, and he was R1BVA8. So those people have Matani ties. They wasn't even really direct descendants of Amos and Amos Nefertari, because remember, his great grandfather was Thutmose. Thutmose wasn't really part of a lineage. And then you get Hatshepsut, and you get Thutmose II, before you get rise to Amenhotep the first and the third, second, and third. So now we got to follow that line of where did he come from, and can't nobody tell you. But if he was R1BVA8, I'm sure his ancestors came from that Sahara.
All right, so I'm glad you were talking about points of origin. Ramesses, the Ramesside Empire, okay? His family came from Avaris. Now, we know Avaris retained a lot of Asiatics over time.
Yeah.
They even find the god Astarte there, right? With his family being there, I find it very interesting that can we say during that time, the 12th century BCE, there was an Asiatic introgression and presence still in Avaris?
Oh yeah, they've been in that delta. When Amos kicked them out, they all didn't leave. Some of them just went back north, and some of them got absorbed in a new dynasty. That's an exaggeration when they say they kicked them out.
Okay.
So
and we
think about this, King. Think about the Hyksos in Egypt. They came in peacefully in the 12th dynasty. They took over in the 15th. That's a lot of time. They spent down there 400 to 300 years before they even dominated. So in between that time, there's mixing going on. So even Ramesses II, he was highly mixed with Asiatic, because his father was Seti I. Seti I was employed in the military, and they came from the north. So I'm sure
they came from the what, brother?
They came from the north.
They came from the north,
right?
I just want my audience to understand what you said. So, is that giving any connections or implications about the Avaris thing with the Asiatics there and all that? And these people are coming from that house, that portion of Egypt.
I mean, the Asiatics played a role. That's what I'm saying. We can't be biased on either side. We got to be truthful. Asiatics, regardless of what type of Asiatic you had, dark Asiatics, light Asiatics, they played a role in the development of Kemet for a long time. And in the Avis area, or Avaris area, which is the northern delta, of course, those people were always there. Even when Narmer took over Kemet, he was born in Upper Egypt, not in really northern Sudan, but Upper Egypt, his wife was Neithotep. Neithotep was from the north. I'm sure she didn't look like Lapita from 12 years. I'm sure she didn't look like that. I'm sure if she was from the north, she looked something like I can't even. She didn't look like Lapita.
Man, they got the pharaoh, the mummy of Queen Tai. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah, Queen Tai. Yes, Queen T.
And
Queen Tai.
Her hair texture is not woolly. She doesn't.
No, that's a hair. That's not a fro. That's wrong. That's been going on in our community for a long time.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
That's a hairpiece. That's a hairpiece. No, her hair texture. If you ever look it up, that's actually a crown. That's not an afro. And for people to say that, that's pseudo.
So okay, all right. So these African queens didn't have woolly hair,
Some of them,
prognosticism.
no, Montu Hotep wife did because he got a sister from the South. You can look at her depiction and they were doing her hair. But some of them women, no, some of them women had curly hair like some Boricua women in the black community.
Wait a minute, hold on, man. We're gonna have to redact a whole bunch of pictures. There's a lot of pictures floating around in the conscious community with these women looking like, you know what I'm saying?
No, some of those pictures is exaggerations. That's not true. They look just like, you know, the best example. Some of those sisters at that time look like light-skinned Puerto Rican women. That's just the truth.
Oh wow! So no black girl magic going on during this time,
but they did have
cocoa butter, no pink oil.
Announced the presence of ones who look Mediterranean or the ones that look like lighter skinned Puerto Rican women. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, it was going on, you know.
All right, man. I'm gonna move on, man. Cause I don't want to get attacked by the black girl magic community. But hold on, real quick. So, do you agree with what Petrie said about around the Nakata 3 period? Asiatics came into Egypt, bringing with it the seeds of the pharaonic civilization.
No, I don't think they brought in the seeds. I think that they came in a trade and they helped make it, but they no, I don't know. I believe that.
You would say they were a part of that. They were part of.
They were a part of it. Yeah, they were a part of it. They've been going backwards and forth through trade, so that's a fact, and that's always been my argument.
And this was around what we put in this 3000 BC, somewhere around
second half of the Nakata period.
All right, so why do people have problems when they say Asiatics came in, brought influence into Egypt? There, what is the issue?
Is it people biased and they don't talk about African influence also in the Middle East? You get what I'm saying? They both was influencing each other. They traded. You get what I'm saying? People were trading. It's just like soul food. Corn isn't indigenous to us when we came over here, sub-Saharan Africans. Some of those foods and some of the components in our food comes from indigenous natives.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that the Irish played a role in the history over here as well. They was the first indentured servants the British brought over here before they took over the boats and started stealing it from the Spaniards and then bringing the black slaves. So what I'm saying is Mesopotamian people or people from the Near East was also being influenced from people in the Nile, and people in the Nile was also being influenced. They were trading. This is what people do. That's why I say I'm not biased on either half.
Maybe you should do some more lectures on Garfield's channel dealing with this, man, because what I heard from the community is the total opposite of what you said right now, brother. I'm just letting you know.
Bro, this is all I ever taught. Even when I was arguing with Zion, you asked him the question, what's the fuck is the argument about? No one's denouncing Asiatics. No one's denouncing. I never did. But what I'm not going to do is denounce the African presence in the Middle East, because we find a pre-Neolithic A, B, and C group, and you know about their genetics that was over there. You find L3 over there, a whole bunch of E's, the Natufians. Even in Göbekli Tepe in the Kartalholic cult in Anatolia, you find certain depictions in certain cousins of us there compared to the ones in the north. So I think it's been a zigzag for both angles.
So wait though, hold on, Ngozi. We find the DNA of the Natufians, PPNB, and all that, right? We find it up there in the Levant area. Why when we travel south, we not seeing that? We got to remember,
like I said on the show, the Egyptians was a combination between Saharic population and Natufians that back migrated. But the Natufians' predecessor, before they leaked out, they came from the Cambrians. And the Cambrians, what was the paternal marker that gave rise to that branch of E1B1B in the Levant? It was that EZ827, which also developed in North Africa. The Natufians was west of the Levant, and a lot of them went to Jericho. Now, a lot of these people spent more time in North Africa, Southwest Asia, Far West Asia, before they started piercing south. And this is why I brought up the Kordan race that was invaded when you look up the article, Oldest Race War in the Sahara. So it's a lot going on down there between the earlier population of who we descend from and the other population that a lot of our components come from in the south. It's a lot of things going on.
All right. Okay. I did a video earlier. Somebody was responding to what Zion was saying, And the brother was trying to say that Nubia had had pyramids first before Egypt.
No, that's not true. The Nubian pyramids is younger than the Egyptian pyramids, but building structure, a FAD 23, you find it starting to happen in Sudan as early as 15,000 years ago. No, the Egyptian pyramids is much older than the Nubian pyramid. That's I wouldn't say that. I don't know who said that, but no, the Nubian pyramids is younger, but the building structure of like the pyramidal structures and houses type bases, you find it with a FAD 23 in Sudan as early as 15,000 years ago. This predates Göbekli Tepe. So, and that's in Anatolia. And the Göbekli Tepe population was in southern Turkey was distinct from the population in northern Turkey. They were skull coats.
Okay.
But I would never say that the Nubian pyramids or the Sudanese pyramids or the Meroitic, I'll say Meroitic because we got to be careful with Nubian, Meroitic, and Nehesi. You got to be careful. But I'll never say that the Nubian pyramids predates the Egyptian pyramids. That doesn't make sense.
The brother said it on Can to Cam that they were already building these pyramids in Nubia, and that's where they got the information from. All the information transferred from Nubia, and that's how they learned to build those pyramids.
No, the pyramid, you do listen, like first of all, triangular shape type building structures you don't find in Mesopotamia. You do find ziggurats over there. And the oldest ziggurat, like I keep bringing up, it's not even in Iraq, it's in Iran. But you also have in pre-dynastic Egypt going back 7,000 years, 8,000 years, mastabas. And mastaba in Arabic means bench. Before you find step pyramids. These people didn't develop, I mean, it's not a direct Nubia thing. You find components coming through Sudan, northern Sudan, the Sahara. We got to be careful with Sudan, bro. It's kind of tricky. It's kind of tricky. Got to be careful with Sudan.
Okay.
Just like everybody in Chicago isn't African American, and everybody in Chicago isn't. You know what I'm saying? It's you got to be careful with that.
Right. But we know they use mastabas in Nubia as well. You know what I'm saying? They use mastabas as well, but mastabas is not pyramids.
No, it's not. It's not pyramids. It means step. But a lot of these early mastabas, if you look at them, they were steps that was used for graves. And if you look at the step pyramid, you can find in kinship to that mastaba type thing. Now, here's the thing. It's like what Big Brother Ankh said. Let's say that some Mesopotamians in the Naqada period did help, because you got to be careful with that, saying, oh, Mesopotamia gave everything to them. Because first of all, the Sumerians had a language isolated. And if they gave these people something, why were these people speaking in their own language? Why do Narmer depiction, his zoo type for his name is the catfish that's indigenous to the Nile? Now, I'm not saying they didn't borrow and swap customs from one another. But if you look at that mastaba, it's real close to, it's in kinship to that step pyramid. And that shit looks distinct from a ziggurat, even though you find features similar to the ziggurat. These people are exchanging ideas. I mean, I could take your shit or you could take my shit and you can make it better. Just like the Egyptians did with the chariots. When the Hyksos brought that shit in, the Egyptians wasn't used to that shit. But what did they do? They turned around and made better war chariots by making the springs more better and the wheels more smaller. That was more tactical for war.
Right. Yeah, man. I'm just pointing out Asiatic integration in these different epochs of time.
Yeah.
Like we see watermelon going to Egypt in 2000.
You find watermelon. The chicken is indigenous to Nigeria. The chicken is indigenous to India. But we find it in Ifa and Yoruba systems. The chicken plays a major role with Obatala. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff that you find from other parts of the world that's in the continent. You find that. Because, I mean, if you want to say Asiatics or Easterners, they've been going back. And you also find some customs from Africa over there. You do. It's just, this is what people do. And also, I'm not even going to denounce Europe because there's a strong African presence in early Europe, even before the Neolithic population came in. You got a whole graveyard of E1B1B there, and they found a branch of BM60 up there, and L0 with the Bell Beaker culture, the first phase.
Right, but would those people be autosomally African?
No, they would have been mixed up. They would have been autosomally mixed up, but you were there. A presence of a component of you were there. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. Like I said, I follow the people. I don't really deal with the continental identity thing so much because I think the people supersede that continents are stagnant. They don't have children.
It's just like with the Israelites. The scriptures tell us they were a mixed multitude. It wasn't one lineage for the Israelites. You had the some of the Shashus, some of the Haparu, not all of them. To say a Hebrew is an Haparu doesn't make sense because they were complaining about them before Hebrew faith even exists. Yahweh, or the idea of Yahweh was in Mount Sinai with the Shashus or the Midianites. And the Shashus were partially what? According to the scriptures, Zipporah was an Ethiopian. A lot of them was partially Ethiopian and other components. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you find Jehutiyah, which means increasing moon in the Nile Valley. So by the time you get to the Israelite faith, these people are already a mixed multitude. And I don't think that's what really the bloodline. I mean, I know you said earlier you don't agree, but I don't think a direct lineage or bloodline determines what a Hebrew is when the people were already a mixed multitude in that zone after the Bronze Age or in that area.
Well, but we do understand that we got history of royal lines, and royal lines are usually depicted or not depicted, but determined by blood lineage.
Well, based off, we know the oldest marker that was in the Levant before the other people. It was the branches of E that was there. You know, the Natufians had that.
They dominated the Levant.
They dominated the Levant.
It's interesting that we seeing these people north of Egypt. They're in the Levant. They're in these areas for years, thousands of years, and then we don't associate E with the Levant today.
The Levant, again, like I said, the northwestern part of the Levant is on the African plate tectonic, and the east was definitely there, and the eastern part is on the Arabian plate tectonic. And we also can't deny our brother T, and that T is also in Somalia, and it's also in northern Africa. The T also came in later, even though it wasn't there originally, but it came in with the pre-Proto Neolithic B group and A group. They started to get absorbed in it. And also some of that H, the H started to come in. But then when the Bronze Age kick in, you find these populations from Iran and the southern parts of the Caucasus bringing clusters of J2 there and J1. And this is what a lot of those Ashkenazis are descendants of. Then 3,000 years ago, you find the Philistines coming in. Where did they come from? They find out genetically the Philistines came from Crete, near Greece, in the northern parts of Israel. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because anybody can trek across land. A lot of people trek across it. My thing is the haplogroup E being in the Levant. Why are we not looking at the Levant as the ancestral abode or home of haplogroup E when we have evidence that we can solidify that with, but we go all the way across the African plateau and say, no, we started here.
Well, the thing is, the Levant played a major role in the E family, but also we find E older with the Iberian Marusians. The Iberian Marusian E is older. They're older than the Natufians, if you look up the timeline. You get what I'm saying? So,
yeah, but autosomally, you can see that they didn't originate or start there.
No, well, here's the thing. Let me just say this. Autosomally, the Iberian Marusians were more closer to you because you had the component that was highly sub-Saharan at 35%. You had indigenous North Africa. Then you had the Near Eastern population. But when you get into the Natufians, the sub-Saharan component decreases. The Iberian Marusians still got a higher chunk of you, which shows you that it was Iberian Marusian type people that went over there. They kept the marker, but their sub-Saharan component decreased, but they still kept the morphology. Because when you look at the skull type, the skull was very similar to Africans, but autosomally, the sub-Saharan component decreased. And I meant to send you that article so you can read what's going on, but you still maintain an E marker.
Yeah, I need that Multiman article. They're still saying, I went to the 2016 article. They're still saying that was a Eurasian admixture that happened around 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, but Multiman, it happened, but Multiman, they said was absent from it. They thought he had it, but it was absent. I'm gonna send that to you.
I need that one right now. I need to see that because what I read was a little different. But I did see them try to make him E1, B1, A2. I did see that. I saw that on the wiki. I didn't see that on the actual article, so I was going through the supplementary material to try to find it. So if you can show me where they actually clarified E1, B1, A2 as well.
Got you. I'm gonna make sure you get that less than an hour. Okay, I'm gonna get back inside of here to the gig. I appreciate you for allowing me to come on again. But I'm gonna make sure I send that to you before this day is over with.
All right, appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. Shalom. Peace.
Shalom. All right, man. You see, you come on here and speak your piece here at the source, man. You know how we rock it, man. 7 gang, source gang over everything. Let me go to these comments real quick, man, before I get out of here. Where is it? Where is it at? Where is it? Doorbell made a statement about A00. It's been so long ago I can't even go back to it. But anybody saying A00 is from the family E, you don't understand genetics. A00 is a clade of A. They have a different sequence of data. How do you determine haplogroups in descent? By sequencing the genome and looking for genetic differences. What gives you the genetic differences? The mutations. That's the M2. So EM2 is a mutation within that sequence that they named it after, right? They named that mutation M2, so EM2. A00 doesn't have the same genetic sequence as E1B1A. That is just false. Again, like I told him, that's just like if we know what colors that tulips are, and somebody tells you that they come naturally burnt orange, it's just false empirically. So anybody teaching A00, a hybrid praise. I did see what you were saying, and I did read that article but that was 2014. You understand? 2014 when they said it was not conclusive, they were R1B. But 2020, the more up to date, they pretty much concretized and solidified that they were R1B. You know what I'm saying? Which puts a bind on the Kemet crowd, because you guys have been invoking Tut and invoking Akhenaten and invoking Amos the First and invoking these different Egyptian people in history as your ancestors. And they clearly are not. All right? That's a farce. Ramesses is. And I think it's very interesting. I want to cover that today, but other things happen, and I'll cover it another day. Ramesses, his folks is from avarice, and there's a lot of Asiatic introgression going there and influence going on there. So, what I'm saying, we're gonna dig into the history of the Ramesside Empire, man. All right, man. Anybody want to click that link? You can come on. Anybody want to speak and oppose? Hey, Kimo really putting salt in this wound right here, man. This brother, he said, yep, some even had them tattooed on them. Yo, they do. They got King Tut right here. Yeah, King, I'm representing the Nile Valley. My ancestors. Stop it. Stop it. The Africanity insanity must end. Yeah, that brother Kimo funny as hell. Yo, we just want clarity, man. We see E dominating Levant, man. We got ties to that. We see R in Dynasty 18. We don't have no paternal tie to that. And then the brother even broke down the maternal side. Ain't no maternal. And then we talking about the people, Queen Ty and all that. These people were not no African queen that you guys be drawing them up to be, and depicting them, man. I think it's so funny to me. It's so hilarious to me that these same people saying, you guys not Israelites, you guys can't be this because of X, Y, and Z. You guys claiming people that are not you genetically. You do not descend from the same stock as them. You do not share the same Y chromosome as these people. They are not your ancestors. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a few, people, Black Lion Supreme and whatnot. I would love them to come on the show and state their opinions and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? This is not Garfield's show. Garfield will go on there with 8 people and drown you out. Over here, I'm gonna let you get what you got to say out, and we're gonna discuss it because I'm not afraid of information. I spend majority of my day reading, man. My free time, I am reading information and disseminating information. Now, a lot of you cats are not doing that. And it showed like the brother was just really breaking down. I would ask them questions about people in the community and the things they say. Jabari said that the Tamahu was the white Europeans, and the brother's like, no, he's wrong. They're not. Said the brother earlier that was on with Zion Lex said that Nubians had pyramids and building their pyramids first. He said, no, they're not, because empirically we can see when these things were established. You understand? The Nubians didn't get pyramids to 751 BCE. We read that. You understand? The Tamahu are not no damn Europeans. We know their history. We know their legacy. A lot of them would be, you know, the Northern Libyans and Berbers and stuff like that. They EM78, they got E clades, man. They E1B1B. You know what I'm saying? So that, like I said, that's my folks, that's my people. I'm gonna claim my ancestry. I'm gonna claim those. That's why I don't do the continental identity thing, man. We not A, we not B. Chris Rock is haplogroup B. I'm not B. Majority of African Americans are not haplogroup B. You do not relate to the Bushmen. You do not relate to majority of the Khoi. You do not relate to majority of the Sun people, these early Nilotic people that we're talking about, the AM13 individuals. That's not you. But your ancestors are in the Levant, and that's why I was establishing with the haplogroup E dominating the Levant and Natufian culture and all that. We can clearly make that connection. But a lot of these people that are so pro-African, the pro-Africaners I call them, they don't want to accept it because a continent is more important to you than your actual bloodline and your actual Y chromosome and your actual forefathers. You don't give a damn about them. You care more about modern ideology and a continental identity base set that was given to you by these people that you call devils. I think this is very telling, man. I ain't gonna rant all night, man. We've been going on 2 hours 45 minutes. All right, man. Much love to y'all. Appreciate y'all coming through and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? And we rocking and rolling here at the source. Ahibi Praise says the Ashkenazi keeps saying the people depicted on the Assyrian Lachish relief was not the real Jews, but the Cushite colony because they know the bones of the Judeans Lachish wouldn't match their DNA. I agree with you, Ahibi Praise, and I pray that I live to see those genetics and that DNA of those individuals is analyzed, because once they pull out those graves and say they're known Israelite DNA, I think that's where they found the Wormian bones too, the Lachish graves. If they pull that DNA, analyze that DNA, and it's E1B1A, what are these guys going to say then? We got that DNA there. We have the Marjani paper showing our DNA goes back to the Iron Age 2A period in the Levant, and to these that early Israelite group that they said that already admixed with Africans. What else is there to say? We finding all the DNA falling in our favor with our model, but we're not finding any to fall into your favor with this, Egyptomania stuff. You know what I'm saying? People try to lock us into Western Sub-Saharan Africa. We're in the Levant. We're in Iran. We're in the BMAC culture. They're in the Bronze Age. We're in the Neolithic. We're all over the place except these places that they claim that we were from. You understand? So something to be mindful about. All right. All right, man. You know I'm rocking, man. 7 gang, source gang over everything. How we gonna end this, man? How we gonna end this? I think I do. I think I do a classic. Man. Shabbat shalom, brothers. Are you not entertained? Let me get the instrumental.
I'm really focused on using all the tools I can so that we spend every
YouTube
second
going
possible
crazy with these commercials,
product.
ain't
Rex simplifies how I manage my cash flow, which
Hey,
really
shalom,
allows me to focus on building our community and creating better products for our customers.
Ramal Yahoo said they're gonna cry so bad. I'm gonna leave y'all with that.
Another Mike Diesel production.
showing lots of pride. I'm supposed to and show my wit pride. Knocking those eyes, showing lots of pride. Knocking those eyes, showing lots of pride. Knocking those eyes, showing lots of pride. I'm supposed to and show my wit pride. Knocking those eyes.
Yeah. 7 gang, Source Gang. Oh, rocking, man. Stay tuned. We are going to be back live tomorrow. My brother going to be dropping this video